The Michelin Le Mans Cup reaches its annual season-ending event here in Portimão on a slightly unusual day for racing, I suppose, considering the rest of the weekend's schedules. Both of the major series featuring this weekend have their final races on Saturday here at Portimão, just to make sure that everything is done and sorted and sealed in time for the trophy presentations and the championship presentations tomorrow night, also here in Portugal. So we've got a 2-hour race ahead of us. That's adding 10 minutes to the race that we had at Silverstone last month, and a terrific qualifying sessions yesterday for GT3, LMP3 Pro-Am and LMP3, with still 2 of those categories up for grabs. You might be thinking, who on earth is this voice, by the way? I'm Johnny Palmer. Didn't feature at all yesterday because I've been rather poorly for most of the weekend. So first of all, I must say a massive thank you to Oliver Gavin and to Gillian Omrion and to Stephen Kilby. And there was one other name, I think, that helped out. Oh, yes, it was Graham Goodwin.
That's me.
Who's the editor of dailysportscar.com. I'm back.
Thank God for that. Yeah, yesterday was fairly trying. Good to see you back on form, JP.
Just about. I'm getting there.
And good to see as well. Sunshine in the skies. People arriving at the circuit here for what's going to be a packed day of racing. Here is the Le Mans Cup calendar, and it is indeed the final round here at the fabulous Portimão circuit. Always a great place to finish off the season. Everybody looking forward to this. All sorts of storylines coming into this race. They'll certainly add some more during the race. That's the place we're at. It's 4.65 kilometres, 15 turns, and it's just drama central. Always has been, always will be. And it's going to be 2 hours of unpredictability. Always is for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, seemingly more so here. And it'll be done under the shadow of the biggest bibendum you've ever seen in your life.
It's quite fun watching him wake up every morning from what looks like a pretty bad evening the previous night. But that's all been done now. And yeah, for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, he's going to be overlooking proceedings from one end of the circuit. These cars featuring very smart 10 years of the Michelin Le Mans Cup branding on the side of those tyres. And GT3 action yesterday, a session that really you had to be paying attention to in the middle of it, because Alex Martin, who has, I think, featured in this championship before,
yes.
But we haven't seen him for a lot of the 2025 season, but it's almost like he's never been away. I know they have big priorities during the Asian Le Mans series in the winter period, or the kind of Northern Hemisphere winter period, but the Blackthorn and that Aston, it sort of rolled out and it's quick straight away.
Absolutely, Johnny Adam here on coaching duties, and boy did that pay off. RSGP, but here we are, by the way, 39th on the grid, but 4th in GT3. But these are our championship leaders, the 51 AF Corsa Ferrari, and they lead this championship, by the way, Johnny. One of 3 cars coming into the finale with a chance to take the championship, having not had a race win. They have had a points win from the Road to Le Mans race 1, but it was a guesting car that actually won the race. And in fact, 2 of the 3 cars in a position to win this championship, there's Bib, have not won a race this season. It's the 51 from AF Corsa and both the Kessel Racing cars. This, by the way, is a hot air balloon. It's not a really big guy. Standing over, you can see that car just over towards the back end of the circuit. Here's the Iron Dames, 3rd in GT3. Vanina Ricks taking the start for this race, and they have won a race so far this season. The 85 Porsche.
Yes, and well, as you mentioned, we've got a reasonably close championship, 16 points separating Alexandra Cozzi, Alicia Dono from David Fuminelli and Murat Chuadoroglu. 16 points with 25 on offer for a race win. As we move forward to Code Racing development, and there's a complete driver change.
There is. I mean, I think with the opportunity to take the title gone, take the view that it's time to shuffle the pack. So the Aston Martin, it's an all Aston Martin front row, indeed, with the guesting Blackthorn car, and we'll see that car just shortly. But Code Racing looking quick with their new look driver lineup. He's suiting up, booting up, and just about ready to get aboard the cars for the start of this race. There is the Blackthorn car. Charlie Bateman we'll see later. Alex Martin it was that put the car onto pole position with a stellar run. Just got quicker and quicker and quicker as the session piled on, and pretty much half a second to the good ahead of the identical Aston Martin of Code Racing Development. We have one championship already settled. That is for the overall championship. We'll talk about that later. Guillaume Henrion, who called race 1 for us for the Ligier European Series yesterday morning. He's had an up and down day. You'll hear more about some of the travails of his weekend when we get to European Le Mans Series coverage this afternoon. And remember, it is this afternoon. 4 hours to settle it all there. But Guillaume represented in both races you'll see today. All of it live and free on YouTube, by the way, with JP and I, and with Steph Wentworth down in the pits, and I'm sure on the grid this morning.
Beautiful day, and I don't think there's any... I say this with the potential for a commentator's curse. I think you had a couple of those yourself yesterday. But blue sky and very little threat of rain, let's put it that way. We sometimes at this time of year have quite a lot of strong wind sweeping through, which can add an extra element to the final championship permutations. Let's take you to LMP3 Pro-Am. So these have to have a bronze, and they've got to be in the qualifying session as well. And the 34 Inter-Europol competition car, with Jose Cautela, Portuguese racer, in with Rashid Shawn. So some newish names again creeping into the championship, whether that's with a look to Asian Le Mans or getting involved with this and other things ACO-wise in 2026.
And as well, we've got the rookie test tomorrow, all day here. 37 cars will be on track tomorrow from the Michelin Le Mans Cup and the European Le Mans Series. It's a rookie test for both, and I expect to see some of these names there too. Here's another returning name, Auden Gudmundsson. Great to see the team owner back in action for a guest drive with High Class Racing. Gail Julien will share the car with him. Gail, with Thomas Kiefer, took the class win over the line at Silverstone, but then with a clutch failure, couldn't get the car to Parc Fermé and lost that win. They'll be looking to sort that out. Familiar face, the young lady in red, the ex-team manager of ARC Bratislava, now with Breton Racing, and here is the Breton number 62 car. Ben Stone it was, showing this car with Hayden Chance that put the car third on the grid. Remarkably, this team is looking for their first point of the season, reigning Asian Le Mans Series champions, and they almost took that in qualifying yesterday.
Yeah, very, very close, and indeed it went down to the wire for both LMP3 Pro-Am and the LMP3 scrap, but perhaps no surprise to eventually see the car that we will feature in a moment on pole position in LMP3 proper, which is, well, no bronze required in the LMP3 cars with the gold numbers, but we'll stay with LMP3 Pro-Am. This is the Rinaldi Racing entry of Stefan Aust and Felipe Fernandez-Larza, right up there in the championship, as we've mentioned.
It's the two Rinaldi cars that lead the way there, Johnny. 75 points for this car. This is the car in the lead from this sister 66 car, and the only other two cars still within a mathematical chance of doing it. Motorsport 98's 98 car and the 55 of ANS Motorsport. Sorry, the 84 of ANS Motorsport on 55 points.
Yeah, so that's, I think, the tightest fight that we have. 16-point gap in GT3, but it is only 8 points separating two cars, and then you can lump in a number of others as well. There are the times that were set yesterday.
This is our pole car, Terence Woodward. His luck finally has changed, and that started at Silverstone, inheriting that win with the disqualification of the high-class racing car.
Only right that we should pause for the national anthem before getting going for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. We'll be hearing that again, of course, for the build-up to the final race of the season for the European Le Mans Series, which is also today and this afternoon. 2:30 start, I reckon it is, rather than the usual midday. Obviously, that was brought forward at Silverstone from midday because of treacherous weather, which eventually arrived, but we did at least manage to get a bit of racing in before that. As I say, that's not the case today, as the starting drivers are given the 3-minute warning board for a couple of rolling laps to get tyres up to temperature.
Got a quick look there at the 16 car from Team Virage, 5th on the grid overall. Morning to our marshals. Can't do it without you guys and girls. Sebastian Grauland, it will be that starts the race, and it will be Theo Mercouris. 4th on the grid. CLX Motorsport continue their form in LMP3 in all forms. And the number 87 car was in the mix yesterday in qualifying, but eventually it will be Pierre-Alexandre Provost that will start this car, and he will start from the 2nd row of the grid. Moving forward, as we lead up to what will be 2 formation laps, as is now the norm, before the 2-hour race.
Even more reason to do that way, because this is actually a relatively short circuit. There's an awful lot crammed into it. If nothing else, huge gradient change, but just about every corner that you can dream up as well. Good qualifying for the 23 events car number 50 in LMP3 yesterday. I'm going to assume that it was Matteo Quintarelli that did the time.
Was, and he'll be in action in the rookie test with an exciting opportunity for him. Lane Nebula, it will be that takes the start. Move to the front row of the grid, and it's an all-Duquesne affair. Valentino Catalano is aboard the Gebhard Motorsport number 70 car, the needle-nosed car, red nose and red and black livery with the white dorsal fin, and it will be Valentino that takes the start of the race before we get to our pole position car and champions, because this is done. It was done early. It's been a spectacularly effective season for the RSGP team.
1 minute board, 1 minute to start the first of the 2 formation laps. 1 minute, please clear the grid.
It's the voice of Gwen Boursier, our race director and the hardest working man in motorsport, as you'll find out over the next 2 hours.
You're right, it is done, but it's only been really firmed up in the final 2 races, because their results prior to that were not great. Lower end of the top 10 in Barcelona after a trying run to the checkered flag, and Le Castellet after that wasn't perfect.
30 seconds to start the first of the 2 formation lap.
They've always been fast, but they've often got caught up with something not their own making or a bit of poor strategy calling. But
the first 2 races were disastrous. Yeah. After that, it's just the burners have been turned on, as they have with Bibb across the other side of the circuit, and they've shown real class. So Adrian David it was that took pole position. Hugo Schwarzer it will be that takes the start of this race. And Johnny, you're about to go racing.
Green flag. Start of the first of the 2 formation lap. Start of the 2 formation lap.
It feels like it's been a bit of time away, actually. 5 weeks or so since the last Le Mans Cup race at Silverstone. That was groundbreaking because that championship had never been to the UK before. It is no stranger to the Portimão International Circuit, though, and it has to be said, if you track the narratives of each of the season-ending Le Mans Cup races here at Portimão, you could write several novels on them.
Absolutely.
In actual fact, and we're expecting a classic. We're also expecting just stuff that you could never have even invented in your mind, perhaps for the categories that are yet to be decided. Hugo Schwarzer, though, is already a champion in the 85 car with his teammate Adrian David, and starting alongside Valentino Catalano for Gebhard Motorsport. Then it's Lena Bula for 23 events racing on the inside of row 2 with Pierre-Alexandre Provost in the CLX Motorsport number 87. The 3rd row, Sebastian Grauland for Team Virage in number 16 alongside Bence Valent in the Reiter engineering car for the Hungarian. He starts in 6th place. Then Luciano Morado for Forestier Racing by VPS, one of 2 cars that they have in this race, and Max Meyer for High Class Racing completes the first 8 cars, number 20. Then it's Louis Rosset in the 2nd of the Forestier cars, number 29, And Marcus Pommer for ANS Motorsport will start the race in 10th place in car number 6. Onward we go into the latter portion of the LMP3 entry. Henry Cubides in Nielsen Racing's number 4 is 11th. Cedric Ultramar for CLX Motorsport number 97, 12th. Ahead of RHGP's Antoine Duquin. Possibly should be a bit higher up there in the number 86 car. 13th position just alongside Freddie Tomlinson in the number 3 DKR Engineering car. Then Colin Noble put in for the first stint. That's not the case for the first time necessarily for the 7 Nielsen Racing car. They like to do that to give that car a bit better track position. Christian Brooks, his company in the Breton Racing car, and then it's Samir Ben and Thomas Imborg for Team Virage and CD Sport respectively.
Let's close these gaps, please. Gaps are getting a bit too big. Let's close these gaps.
Terence Woodward definitely riding the crest of a wave after a tricky start.
Car 58, car 99, close the gaps. You're delaying the procedure. 58 and 99, close the gaps.
But off the back of the Silverstone win for Terence, he bangs it on pole again in number 28-23 Events Racing car. Stefan Aust alongside him, second place in the 71 Rinaldi. Then it's Ben Stone for Breton Racing. Alden Goodmanson with a return, a very welcome return to the championship for High Class Racing, 49. Jose Fernandez in Inter-Europol Competitions car, we've already mentioned, and Romano Ricci for RHGP is 6th, ahead of Jacek Zielonka for Virage, Horst Felbermeyer for Reiter Engineering, Mark van der Schnell for More Motorsport, and CD Sports' James Sweetnam. Then Eric de Donker and Christian Gysi, they're in the Motorsport 98 and Racing Spirit of Le Mans car. Steve Parrow for Rinaldi Racing and GG Classics, George Nakas. P4 Racing, Andrew Ferguson, and Michael Doppelmayer's M Racing car 64
17, close the gaps. Car 17, close the gaps.
And the
all
17th,
cars to close the gaps, please.
17th and final car in LMP3 Pro-Am is Julien Lamoine's ANS Motorsport car. And then there are 8 GT3s, the Grand Tourers towards the rear. Alex Martin with a terrific qualifying time. He had no idea where he was because the radio had broken, but he just kept pounding round, and the Blackthorn car actually pitted just before the end of the session and was able to comfortably give Steph Wentworth a quick interview as well. His target, no doubt, to win this race in number 91 Aston Martin, but he has Pascal Houteau for company in the Code Racing Development Aston, number 11. Then it's Vanina Ricks in Iron Dame's Porsche, number 83. Alessandro Cozzi, the current championship leader for AF Corsa. Lorenzo Innocenti for Kessel has the team Kessel car alongside Murat Çuadoroglu in 33. They again are in the championship hunt. Josip Maiola for Biogas Motorsport, and the final car on the grid is Sabino Di Castro for Ebby Motors.
Just 95, please make sure you keep this gap as close as possible.
Just to add a couple of notes to that, watch for Julien Lemoine in 35th place on the grid and right at the back of LMP3 Pro-Am. Lost his times from being right up at the sharp end of qualifying to a technical issue at post-session scrutineering. And EP Motors number 95 Porsche, that car was not present for qualifying and may well make rapid progress to start with. There's Bibendum just appearing from behind the trees, menacingly. Not usually menacing, looked a little bit menacing there.
All cars to grid position, all cars to grid position, please.
Well, quite right for a championship that is sponsored by that tyre manufacturer to have Bibendum present and of present mind as well.
All cars to assume grid positions. I remind you, 2 clear lines through the standing start painting on the grid, no overtake, no side movement before the line. Have a good race.
Indeed so. Well, we wish everyone involved in it a good race. We wish you watching wherever you are, maybe you're here at the track and observing things on a device as well as live from a particular corner, or if you're a bit further afield, thank you for what might have been quite an early start to join us for the final event of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Really nice that this championship can be involved on the final day of the season for European ACO racing as well. So they're actively involved, because some of these names you may well see in the not too distant future in the European Le Mans Series, or maybe even higher than that. But 2 category championships to be decided in LMP3 Pro-Am and GT3. as the cars now are given the signal to start racing, and this 43-car field will head down to Primera corner, which is so tricky as the track drops away from you. Somebody locking up on the inside line and whacking the curb, but they've all survived that. And these live pictures from our drone, which have been providing superb entertainment as they get very, very close. The drone gets so close to the top of the cars, or it feels like that is the case. But Gebhardt Racing called as the race leader through the first split. That might have corrected itself since then, but no doubt Valentino, it is Schwarzer, but Valentino Catalano was briefly ahead in that red and black car, number 70, as they go down to Tora Vip for the first time, underneath the rotunda, then the run through the gears, uphill and towards this tricky sequence of right-handers. The final one of them very, very tight indeed, but a good overtaking opportunity, particularly if you've warmed your tyres better than a rival. One of the Ades taking a look actually on the team car there. So that is Colin Noble making early progress on Henry Cubides and potentially others. But Hugo Schwarzer from pole position is already a second clear.
Great stuff, Johnny. Well called at the start of that race. All sorts of dramas in LMP3 Pro-Am as cars drop back into the pack of the GT3s. This is Vanina Ricks alongside Alex Martin to start the race. So Vanina's had an absolutely cracking start and is contesting here the lead of GT3. Side-by-side contact there, a little bit of a love tap from Porsche to Aston Martin, and it is the Porsche that comes out the best, with LMP3 Pro-Am's cars in the mix as well. Some slow starting gentleman drivers there, but I'm going to say this out loud, everybody finishes the first lap.
We've not been able to say that in every Michelin Le Mans Cup race this season, but people getting the memo that this is a 2-hour race. And with a lot of bronze drivers involved at the moment, there is a lock-up there going into La Gauche corner. Remember, the lap begins with 3 sequential right-hand corners. Primera's tough because you're approaching at such high speed. Now the Aston Martin is getting rubbed up a little bit the wrong way by the Vanina Ricks Porsche, and that was a pass for the lead. So X now ahead of Martin, and Martin thought about repaying the favour into La Gauche corner, but wasn't quite close enough. There was almost contact.
I think they have exchanged that lead at least 3 times in the first, lap and a bit here. So that looks like it's got many more chapters to be written. Watching the progress, by the way, of that 84 car that we said to keep an eye on from Julien Lenoir. Where's he got to? And the answer is remarkably, he's up to 9th place already. Someone's off in the gravel there. LMP3 car somewhat disguised by it. What is that car?
It's an LMP3 Pro-Am with the purple backing to the number, and there's been contact. 84.
It's Julien Lenoir.
Not again.
As I said it.
My word, he's already had a terrible weekend after incidents yesterday, and
safety car has been scrambled.
Yes, it has. Might be thinking maybe the future for me as a commentator rather than being a race driver. We no doubt about it that this kid is incredibly talented, a multi-champion in ACO rules racing, but stranded in the gravel after contact. So it did appear that maybe that incident wasn't of his own making.
Well, he was certainly in contention. It was contesting 8th place with Jacek Zelonka, was potentially the other car involved, or Mark van der Snel, because he was making his way up through that group. It wasn't a particularly brilliant angle, was it? And no. Lots of tyre smoke and then dust obscuring our view. So the safety car brings the field back under control. Hugo Schwarzer it is that will be in the lead from Valentino Catalano. Let's look again there.
The incident's kind of already happened at that point as the camera, from a different angle though. And again, unfortunately that's not a great one, but this is all at turn 7. So just before, in the foreground, the tricky turn 8, which is the real corner in that sequence. But you're jostling for position, heading uphill. And if both cars thought that they had the apex, then clearly they've made contact with one another. Race control will have better views of it, but unfortunately, whether it's his fault or not, he's in the gravel and will need outside assistance now to get that car back into the race. I don't think it's necessarily a race-ending incident, but the tricky thing is this is a short track, as already mentioned, and I think that car's easily going to go a lap down now.
Well, the other big problem is that is a title contending car. That is the 4th place car in the LMP3 Pro-Am, and it's going to go a lap down. There's little doubt about that. So we'll see again what happens here. That was Mark van der Snel, I think. He'd passed the car,
yeah.
But I don't know how you'd call that. I think Mark was on the racing line and Julien cut across to him. For me, racing incident, but I would place at least equal blame, and if not more so, on the passing car there.
Yeah, you're fine to make the overtake, but you've got to make sure as you tuck in that you are then clear of the car in behind, because it's not the responsibility of the chasing car to get out of the throttle or brake to then make space for you. On the other hand, if Mark van der Snel's trying to fashion an overtaking opportunity into 8 and he's a bit too forceful, it could be read in the other way, but there might be some telemetry needed indeed to straighten that out in race control. They will try and do so within the race if possible. This is how we got things underway though, and still can't quite work out which car was locking up there, but it made places as it did so. Plenty then running out wide, well beyond the curb.
That was the moment that we saw the Gebhardt car actually take the lead very briefly to the outside of turn 4. But that was soon, and there was a spin there for Lorenzo Innocenti's number 17 Kessel Racing Ferrari, which explains why he's at the back of the GT grid. Michael Doppelmayr in the M Racing LMP3 car. Here's one of several hip checks that were involved in a spirited battle for the lead in GT3 between Vanina Ricks and Alex Martin. But under the safety car, and that was the other view of what I think was Mark van der Snel and Julien Le Mans, which left the ANS Motorsport car stranded in the gravel, and I'm afraid that looks to be, Johnny, the end of their championship aspirations in LMP3 Pro-Am. They are now a lap down.
Yeah, and so difficult to come back from that, so it's obviously going to affect he and his teammate Paul Trajani, as conversations are rather thorough and deep up and down the pit lane. First safety car of the season finale, the showdown as I put it before we went to air. Maybe that should be used in the branding moving forward into future seasons. It's been a good start from Morten Gudmundsson to be leading in LMP3 Pro-Am, by the way, number 49, ahead of Terence Woodward, who'd taken the pole position. Stefan Aust is running 3rd for Rinaldi Racing.
Well, Arden has been GT racing elsewhere this season, so this is a guest appearance, but he won the race here last year with Colin Noble, so he knows his way around here, and he knows his way around here quickly, and he's proving it once again. So at the moment, we've got all of the LMP3 class cars running 1st to 18th. Then Arden Gudmundsson leads a train of 12 LMP3 Pro-Am cars that takes us down to 30th place, before we get into something of a mixed bag between the GT3 runners and a few delayed LMP3 Pro-Am cars. But the one car at the moment not running is the car being recovered from the gravel, and that's the luckless number 84 ANS Motorsport Ligier of Julien Le Mans. So mercifully, just one car in the gravel after that incident.
So Julien Le Mans hopefully is going to rejoin at some point. Still, I'm struggling with that car that locked up, but it certainly did so into Primera. It was one of the LMP3s, certainly, because it was ahead of, for instance, car number 30, the CD Sport Thomas Imborg
I think it might have been the 86 RHGP car of Antoine Ducan. It's a white-coloured car between the two for SDA Racing by VPS cars.
Handshakes down at ANS. Julien Le Mans is running again, or at least the red letter S next to his name has disappeared.
Mike pick up there in the Blackthorn Garage, looks after Charlie Bateman. Mike, ex-team owner back in the day, PK Sports, the Porsches, but he's also a key part of Tom Ferrier's TF Sports operation. Beloved figure there, as one of the more senior members of the team, gets a lot of leg pulling, but soaks it up beautifully, and great to see him there looking after Charlie Bateman. He's looking to step forward in GT racing, and here's one avenue for it. We'll see him amongst others in the Asia Le Mans Series later this season.
So a chance for everyone to gather their thoughts, really, and in a sense this is helping if you're a bronze driver, because it means you're not losing any time to anybody else in LMP3 Pro-Am or GT3. 50 minutes is the minimum drive time in these longer races of the season. I say longer because the Silverstone race was 10 minutes shorter, only because there wasn't any data on the Silverstone track for these cars. They will have had data for LMP3 per se, but again, not for 6 years or so, so not for certainly not the current version of LMP3, nor actually the prior iteration either. But we're back to a bread and butter style 2-hour race. Therefore, the bronze was likely to be in for 50 minutes, possibly slightly longer, depending on where you are on the racetrack and what state the circuit is in, as in, is it under full caution at the time, or is it simplified in that we are back to green flag conditions when we get to the pit stops. The options for neutralising the race do cover safety car and a full course yellow as well, but unlike in the ELMS, you can still make a pit stop for a driver change during a safety car and a full course yellow.
It is and is treated as a development series, and the regulatory pressures are kept lighter on the teams and drivers for this, but it is part of the learning curve. There's 3 rungs on the ladder here this weekend with the Ligier European Series. 2 astonishing races there. Safety car is coming in this lap, by the way. This is the next stage up. Hugo Fratzer is backing up this field to near walking pace, and will decide at some point turn 14, 15 when the hammer will be going down. That's his choice. And then, of course, moving on to the European Le Mans Series, where it really is a stepping stone towards the FIA World Championship and the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Away we go, Johnny Palmer.
So, 1 hour and 48 minutes still available, and therefore another half an hour or so, no, about 40 minutes for a lot of these starting drivers still to do. They stream across the line. It's a little bit dusty offline, I've noted as well, with the landscape here and perhaps a bit of overnight wind. We're quite high up with the Atlantic, a short drive away. Ginetta doing some early racing as well. And now there is a black and orange flag, so the mechanical warning flag for the car that was off into the gravel, trailing, I think, one of the bullets from the rear, one of those legality panels. That
was where the hit came when we saw that was something a little awry in the gravel trap, so that's not a particular surprise, but further bad news, I'm afraid, for the 84. So we're effectively down to 3 contenders for the LMP3 Pro Championship. And we'll keep you up to date with the point scoring options as we get deeper into this race, but for now we'll call the action.
Yeah, because it's way too early to be thinking about championships just yet. Things can change in the final laps, remember. Great indication though, if you don't know the Portimão circuit that well, about how much up and down dale it involves, heading towards the corner known as Portimão, and that's a nice tidy little overtake for 86 Antoine Ducat. I did suggest on our grid read that he was slightly out of position, and he's just made a tidy move on Marcus Pommer in the ANS Motorsport car there at the top of the hill.
Yeah, I think he agrees, doesn't he? So these side by side here with the number 6. Marcus Pommer not really quite to concede that, but I think he's going to have to. Bibbs waking up again.
Slightly obscure angle, but that's maybe to get a good view of the final corner.
It's probably just the sun in his eyes.
Oh yeah, good point. Well, he has got his hand up, and
that looks like maybe the bullet, and that's is why.
9, 8, 7.
Yeah, that's
6,
not a surprise.
5,
this is going to be a full
4,
course yellow.
3, 2, 1. Full course yellow is deployed. Full course yellow is deployed. Oh.
Has that in turn meant that the 84 car no longer needs to stop though for mechanical problems?
Well, he'll have to replace it.
Well, that is a good point. But
we've got a big incident here, and that is a huge
safety car deployed. Safety car deployed.
That's slowing down, is it, for the full course yellow?
I think it is, and so we've got 2 cars certainly involved there. Has one of those been into the pit? Well, I think it has.
Car 88, yes, 88 is one of them.
That's one of the RSGP cars. That's the Pro-Am car, I think.
Okay, we have debris on the main straight. Debris on the main straight. Please be extra careful. We have debris and 2 cars stopped on the main straight.
So that
leader, slow down. Leader to slow down, please.
That was cars coming down to full course yellow speed.
The other one that's dropping down the order is the 62 Breton racing car of
It's
Ben
the 49.
Stone.
It's Auden Gudmundsson.
Well, that's not the other car that we saw in the original picture. So Gudmundsson has been involved, and he
and the
was
71.
leading.
This is the championship leading car.
Oh my goodness! So
What
Stefan Aust, but Aust just crossed the line in fourth.
Okay, attention to all cars.
He's
I
only
really
just
need your
dropping now.
cooperation. Safety car by the pits. The safety car will be picking you up at pit exit. So all cars by the pits. All cars by the pits.
The two that sit at the end of the pit wall or just beyond it, I think Romano Ricci in 88 and Ben Stone in the 62 Breton racing car, quite what's happened to Stefan Aust in the 71 and Auden Gudmundsson in car 49. Romano Ricci is thankfully moving in the cockpit, but not able to get out yet.
It's either 2 or 3 separate incidents.
Yeah.
It looks to me as if there's been an incident that's involved the 62 and the 88 that we can see on the pit straight towards pits out. And I do wonder whether or not
Okay,
there's been an incident between the 49 and the 71.
By the pits, please. All cars by the pits.
But this could be utterly disastrous for the 71 and their championship aspirations. They are the championship leaders right now.
Yeah. But what I don't know is whether Stefan Aust actually received any contact or whether that's an entirely unrelated mechanical drama. Auden Gudmundsson, who was leading, remember, LMP3 Pro-Am.
So he was clear.
He was clear. And what I don't understand is why Terence Woodward wasn't involved in any of this, because I think all the cars I've talked about are LMP3 Pro-Am cars. So the LMP3s, without the Pro-Am suffix, have got through this, and it appears to have happened behind them.
Okay, all cars in the pit lane, all cars in the pit lane, very good job, all cars in the pit lane.
So you can hear from Graham Boursier what he's asking them to do, which is to steer clear of the incident site. The drivers still aboard those cars. They have been told by the team to stay there until the cars are under control of the safety car.
Okay, all cars to follow the safety car. The safety car will use the T1 shortcut. The safety car will use the T1 shortcut.
So again, we can hear Eduardo Freitas in the background helping the effort in race control. Workload heavy at the moment with at least 3 separate incident sites.
And there is a different route that you can take through turns 1 and 2, which I think is used for bike racing sometimes.
So we can now see all 4 cars. We've got the Breton racing car and the R-Race GP car on the pit straight. Just before the apex of turn 1, I think that is Auden Gudmundsson. And then just as the cars are passing by here, to the inside is the 71 car of Stefan Aust. So huge dramas.
Yeah. We still can't quite work out how they've all found
Okay, all
one
cars
another.
to go through the pit lane, use the shortcut at T1, follow safety car.
Although, I mean, well, presumably Gudmundsson stopped okay into the full course yellow, and then maybe others behind
Possible.
didn't react. But Terence Woodward, I don't understand. He wasn't involved at all when he was right on the boot lid, and will have been right on the boot lid of Gudmundsson, but he got through okay. We're not showing you any replays at the moment because we've got to make sure that all the drivers are okay before we do that. But hopefully,
the first driver we've seen walking away is Romano Ricci from the number 88
well,
car.
that's excellent news.
And that's, I think, possibly the most heavily damaged of those 4. And Romano stalking his way back to the pits, I'm sure no little upset there. This is the 84 car getting a repair. Now, I'll say this out loud, Johnny. 4 cars started this race in contention for the LMP3 Pro-Am Championship. This car is dropping down the order, but not as quickly as it otherwise would do under the safety car. One of the title contenders, the 71 car, is out of the race by the look of it. The Stefan Aust car has not moved. Let's watch again. So this is the 84 car. That's the 80. This is not the incident that we now got on the safety car. This is the incident that saw the NS Motorsport car pitched off into the gravel, and we should be able to see. You can see on the right-hand side there the bullets that brought then the black and orange flag that appears to have triggered this. Well, that damage appears to have triggered because the thing has fallen off.
Yep.
This.
So everyone's avoiding at the moment. Then a full course yellow was called.
No, Gudmundsson's already in trouble. He's been involved in that initial hit. Gudmundsson's, it's not a separate issue. So Auden Gudmundsson is already in trouble from the incident that's involved the other two cars. Now,
but he was ahead. He was ahead of them, unless he'd lost the lead prior to all of that happening and we'd missed it. But he was in front of Terence Woodward. That's the bit I'm really scratching my head about. 49 was leading, but
I do wonder whether or not, actually, he's been hit. He's been hit by one of those cars from behind. He's sporting rear-end damage on that car.
Yes.
And I wonder whether or not it is either Orton has...
red flag. All cars to stop.
I'm not surprised.
On the main straight, behind the safety car, on the left-hand side of the grid. All cars in one line. Red flag. Red armband mechanic in standby to enter the starting grid.
It makes sense because otherwise you're just circulating cars kind of for no reason, burning fuel, and it means that the recovery can happen really in earnest now without the worry of cars coming through, even though they're going the speed of the safety car, so not immediately endangering marshals. And the fact that they were coming through the pit lane was helping as well. And the sort of pit lane exit extension, which I didn't know existed, that's relatively new. It's not the bike track. They're using an extension to the exit of the pit lane, which might have been an introduction for Formula One racing here. Anyway, but even so, just a safer environment and cleaner to make sure all those cars can be swept up very swiftly. The race clock's going to carry on ticking by, so this will interrupt to a certain degree.
I don't think this will be that long. I think what's going on...
Well, yeah, but what it means is the 50 minutes is going to be
Yes.
slightly
Those
short.
cars to be as close as possible to each other on the grid.
So 50 minutes minimum drive time, that's going to be brought down to maybe 45 now. We'll get an adjusted version of it.
We will. So we'll await further explanation, but the sheer amount of resource that's needed here, the 88 car is being craned onto flatbed there. Multiple intervention teams, marshals exposed on the inside and the outside of the track, 2 debris fields at the very least, and this is the sensible decision. Manage it as carefully as you possibly can. Make sure the drivers are safe. Make sure the cars are removed from the circuit environments.
Red armband mechanic may access the grid. Red armband mechanic may access the grid.
To explain that, there will be 1 mechanic per team who is the sole appointee, the red armband, to go and assist in these circumstances. That is part of the regulation. So you can see
drivers may exit the car, but may not leave the grid for the moment, please.
So, should you sum all that up, Johnny?
I'm trying, but I'm still very puzzled as to why certain cars were involved and others were not.
The one for me is the 71. I'm not sure what's happened with the 71 car, and I can only presume it's possible that hit debris.
Yeah, okay.
So, pretty much triggered by the incident for the 84 car. Unwittingly, 84 car was Julien Le Mans trying to recover from a poor start. Well, let's hear what we can from Romano Ricci, because he's with Steph Wentworth right now. He may well have a better view of what actually happened in amongst all that. Happily, he's back in pit lane, and he's talking to Steph Wentworth there right now.
Hello everybody, I am joined by Romano Ricci, driver of the R8 GP. Now we don't have a full picture of what has happened in this incident. Could you tell us from your perspective what happened?
What happened is that this is the limit of, I think, the stupid rule of full course yellow, where you have to go from full speed to 80 kilometers. We had the full combination of disaster.
Okay, all cars, please.
3 cars fighting for position. A countdown that arrives at 270 kilometers per hour, 260, 250 maybe. And the big difference is when you brake, because at this speed it can be a tenth of a second and you're already in the, you know, one on the other. So it's really, I think, a stupid rule. One more example that safety car would be a much better one. But to go from 250 to 80 with a tolerance of 5 seconds is a recipe for disaster.
And so we saw you getting out of the car and there was quite significant damage. So you had contact that took you into the gravel?
we are three to have contact. I hope everybody's okay. I saw the ambulance. Hopefully it was in a straight line and it's a secure track, and the shock was not very strong, but it can end up in a disaster. Really, it's like if you are in a draft of somebody and suddenly you know approximately when he's going to brake, but yes, of course it's yellow and you cannot pass, but before the yellow you can pass. So as a racer, you always take the opportunity to try, and yes, for me it's a stupid rule. There's been some example like that in the past, and I think we should modify that because it's really dangerous, especially when you are at full speed like we were in the stand. To go from 250 to 70 is crazy.
Thanks for your time, Romano. Thank you.
Well, the first thing we should say is that it's great to see Romano Ricci out of the car and ready to have a conversation, because I feared that he might have been injured sitting in the middle of the track there, although he was moving around, because it looked like there was an awful lot of damage on that car. But the fact that he could walk back to the pit lane unaided and then give a fulsome interview like that is the best possible news. Unfortunately, he had opinions that he wanted to put across ahead of actually what happened. So we still don't know who he hit or who he was hit by. Yes, he may have been going for an overtake, but he shouldn't have been needing to overtake the Orton Goodmanson car, unless Goodmanson had already had a problem coming out of that final corner and had dropped positions that we'd missed.
Orton was behind Terence Woodward.
By that point,
By that point. So you got to pick what you can from what's clearly a pretty wound up Romano Ricci, and what you can take from that is there were three cars and they had contact with each other, and that looked to me to be confusion about timing of full course yellow, coming down to full course yellow, and maybe a little bit of opportunism being coming into it as well, which has proven to be not the smartest move on the part of that. We've got the 10-minute board will be coming in about 45 seconds, so we will at the moment be looking to get back to racing in about 10 minutes time, and that will of course rejoin behind the safety car. So not too long a delay. There's two more of the cars involved. That is a 71 car, so we can tell you that 71 car is a sitting target now in terms of the points score. 10-minute board is now being shown, so we're counting down to going back to green flag racing.
So fine, at the restart then, Woodward had got ahead of Orton Goodmanson, but did that put Goodmanson in second position, and therefore was that a fight for second, third, fourth, maybe fifth as well? Because Stefan Aust, I seem to remember, was fourth in car 71, and Aust, the 71 Rinaldi car, the blue and red car, didn't seem to be that damaged, but surely it is, and surely that was involved in some way as well. But they're all contesting basically the podium positions, let's say. If Terence Woodward is leading, it may well be for third and fourth and fifth and other places too. And then as the full course yellow comes in, you're having to brake quite a bit before the normal braking area for Primera corner. And that is where the confusion has begun. Into Europol Competitions car number 34, I remember, started fifth in the hands of Jose Fernandez. He's now up to second because the cars that were fighting for the places ahead of him have all got hooked up with one another, but presumably a bit of great avoidance driving from Fernandez Cotella to get by that and up to second. Horst Felbermeyer is now third in the 77 Reiter Engineering car.
Yeah, it's a massive turnaround, isn't it, in all of this. We'll wait till we get the cars back and running, and we'll start doing some of the hard sums. Waiting also for confirmation that they may add the lost time here.
Okay, well, there is scope to do that because there's quite a big window between the build end of this race and the start of the ELMS event. which is a 2:30 start. We'll therefore be on air at 2:05 with all of the big build-up. The race time at the moment displays 90 minutes. That could be extended. Whilst we decide that, let's head to Steph.
I am joined on the main straight with Terence Woodward, driver of the number 23 Events Racing. Terence, you managed to get just ahead of the cars in front of you just before the yellow flag. Tell us from your perspective kind of what that was like.
Yeah, I managed to get a run on the car in front of me. I think I was in second at the time. And I got past him before I got into turn one. And yeah, so I managed to break free. I think all the trouble happened just behind me. When I came back round under the full course yellow, it looked like a big smash. So yeah, glad to avoid it really.
Yeah, and of course you had a fantastic run yesterday in qualifying. It seems your streak of bad luck has come to an end as you managed to avoid that incident today as well. How's the race going for you, and what do you kind of expect, especially now that some of the top runners have now been out?
Well, you know, it's still a very competitive field. It's very busy out there. There's a lot of cars on track. So yeah, I just need to stay focused really and drive this great car that 23 Events have given me.
All right, best of luck, Terence. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Terence Woodward, bearing in mind the rest of the season outside of Silverstone, desperately not wanting to speak too soon, but he got a very good run coming out of the initial safety car, as he described, to put him back in front and ahead of Jose Fernandez, who, although will be very experienced around here, doesn't necessarily know this championship a great deal.
I think we've had the closest clue as to what was happening and where. As Terence said, it was just behind him. He said he got to run the car ahead. That must have been Auden Gudmundsson, who was leading certainly at one point there. And it's Auden that's involved in the three-car battle. We then heard from Romano Ricci that there were cars tussling for position as they came into, well, what was not at that stage the incident zone. It was a piece of debris off on the racing line coming down to turn one that triggered the full course yellow that Romano Ricci's position is, then triggered the incident. I'm sure there are going to be differing opinions about what triggered what. Meantime, leading in GT3, this car, the Iron Dames, with Vanina Ricks ahead of Alex Martin in the Blackthorn Aston Martin. We'll keep an eye on what we're being told in terms of the clock. At the moment, the clock is still running down, but won't be very much longer before we get back with cars rolling. Incident sites are clear. They'll be making sure that everybody's back where they need to be and in positions of safety before we get the cars rolling once again. So apologies, we've got this delay, but you've seen the reasons why. 5-minute board has been shown.
And I'm now hearing from Jeff Carter, because he was taking note of the order in LMP3 Pro-Am as this incident happened, and actually thinks that Stefan Aust was into second, also ahead of Auden Gudmundsson. So that's now starting to make more sense in my mind in how they've ended up parked on the racetrack. Terence Woodward is free and clear, having already got past Auden Gudmundsson coming out of the safety car. Aust jumps him as well, and therefore why does Aust park with no damage, it seems? There might have been some damage.
Unless he was also involved and was just clear when we got the shot that we did.
Yeah.
So it does look as if it may have been, Johnny, one single incident involving 4 cars, just that some of them went further than others.
Yes. But that 71 was, if he was into second, then he was the furthest down the road. Then we had parked up on the grass on the right Auden Gudmundsson in a very damaged 49 car, but not as damaged as number 88 Romano Ricci. And I think, unfortunately, for Ben Stone, he's just got swept up in it all. But, you know, we can't apportion blame because we've not been able to revisit the incident. But it will be checked, no doubt about that. And unfortunately, a number of cars are already out of the race and already out of the championship fight.
I'm reasonably confident we will see some more detail once we're clear that everybody is okay in that incident.
Yeah.
So apologies we can't bring you that clarity, but you'll understand some of the reasons why we're not yet able to bring you that clarity. And we'll be back with cars running, as I say, within 5 minutes of now behind the safety car for a restart. And at that point, we can start telling you just exactly how this has affected not just the race order, but the championship order.
So again, just a chance for drivers. They've been told that they can leave cars, they can have a little chat, and it was interesting to look at Eric de Donker and James Sweetnam having a conversation. It all looked to be very well spirited, and they were talking about a good fight that they'd been having on the racetrack. They were a couple that weren't involved in the incident towards Primera Corner. 3-minute board being shown now ahead of a restart. The clock's still reading the same time as it does, as it kind of counts down, as in no extra time has been added quite yet. But there is the possibility that that might happen. We've had precedent of that in the previous races this season, certainly in the LMS. I don't know whether it's ever happened in Le Mans Cup before. Might have happened, I suppose, in previous seasons. Unfortunately, this final race of the year is not really a stranger to big crashes. Thinking about the incident that involved... I had his name then, and then it's immediately gone out of my mind, but hitting the end of the pit wall, one of the Sadaliers, I think it was. Hugo de Sadalier?
It was Hugo, on a restart, going down, sweeping down turn 15, and then we went into, I think, a full course yellow again. Freddie Hunt was involved in that incident as well.
Yes.
It was a horrifying shunt, but everybody okay, just goes to show just how strong these cars are nowadays.
Well, that's also a very good point as well, because these are brand new or reworked cars to be 2025 spec with a great deal of extra aero, but essentially the safety zone, the safety cell should be unaffected, and is the section that provides the driver with so much protection. You still sit on just the one side of this relatively small cockpit, because they're imitating two-seater sports cars of yesteryear, if you like.
And worth saying, by the way, on the Ligiers, on the right-hand side, always have been. That's part of analysis from Ligier when they were designing the original JSP3, that the circuits that they would be contesting races at favoured that configuration. 1-minute board is about to be shown, and we are just about getting there. Last car's been buttoned up and ready to go. So no sign at the moment of the clock being adjusted here, Johnny Palmer. An hour and 22 minutes being shown.
Yeah, and I think that's, well, it may have been communicated to the teams, but it hasn't quite got to Al Kamel yet, the timekeepers for these events. There would also need to be, as I say, a bulletin to then indicate the new drive time amount. We're going to restart behind the safety car, and there's the extra time added. Look, 1 hour and 39 minutes now, just as the safety car sweeps into action.
Yep, so
the drive time does not have to be adjusted now.
We've got the time to do it. That's a good decision for me, for everybody involved on track, for everybody involved watching here at the circuit, and for everybody involved watching at home. And thanks for joining us on a Saturday morning here, glorious morning here at in Portimão, the beautiful Algarve, and let's hope we now get concerted green flag running that is worthy of the stage we're operating on. Nobody so far managing to pull away from the train on start finish. If you're joining us late, we're just recovering here from a red flag. Came out after a multi-car incident on the start-finish straight as the field came into a full course yellow period. That for removal of some debris from an earlier incident. And as part of that, we've lost the LMP3 Pro-Am Championship leading 71 car. The 49 high-class racing car. This is the 84, ready to rejoin the race here. Now, is this going to vault them back up the order? No, but it's restricted the damage at least. They are, though, 3 laps down. Also lost to that incident, the 62 Breton racing car and the 88 car from RHGP, their LMP3 Pro-Am cars. All the cars in that incident from LMP3 Pro-Am. So, messy little incident there, Johnny.
Indeed, and there are avoidable incidents, there are racing incidents. Unfortunately, when you've got 3 cars, maybe 4 cars actually, all trying to slow at the same time. I did hear what Romano Ricci was saying. We've had this sort of problem at Le Mans over the years,
Absolutely.
going into slow zones there, and drivers, with the greatest of respect to Romano Ricci, drivers that are of the pro calibre of platinum and gold, have criticised how things operate at Le Mans as well. But these things are constantly reviewed to try and discover whether there's anything better that we can have. A full course yellow is great if you're on certain parts of the circuit, but you also need to be wary that, you know, there might be a full course yellow, there might also be a safety car, and kind of be wary of that as well.
Well,
there are incidents, I suppose, that you can think you might be able to take an advantage from, and that's not the best game to be playing when you're only 20 minutes into a 2-hour race.
There is, and I think the other thing here is, if all things are equal, we know the rule works. The problem is, if things aren't equal, if communication is a problem, and you've got 3-4 cars battling closely, trying to kind of get to the point where they're coming down to the defined time under full course yellow, you know, on the button, and maybe one gets no message or one gets it late. And if they then notice too late, you've got a not particularly you know, enthusing prospect of a car travelling at 100 kilometres an hour plus more than the cars around them coming into you know, effectively a braking zone. We didn't see it. I'm sure we will get an opportunity to see it a little later. There is going to be the incident involving car 84 and car 44 is what we're being told.
And you did say it was Jacek Zielonka potentially in the Team Virage car. Well, so Jacek is 4th in LMP3 Pro-Am. Don't think that car is involved in the championship fight, but nevertheless it could have an impact on how the cars are ordered towards the end, because at the moment car 44, you could argue, is a potential podium finisher, running up where it is at this stage. I appreciate there's a lot of water to go under the bridge yet.
So effectively what we got here, Johnny, in LMP3 Pro-Am is, as things stand at the moment, one title contender, the championship leader, in fact, is out of the race, the 71 car. Still shown as being stationary and not retired, but I'm pretty certain that is going to be the case eventually. The 84 car, which had a mathematical possibility, had the early incident that left the debris that triggered the full course yellow, that apparently triggered the red flag. And that car is 3 laps off the lead and effectively out of it. So we're then going to be doing the hard sums to determine the potential for the other 2 remaining title contenders. What do they need to do to get themselves into contention? That is going to be the 98, Motorsport 98 car, and the 66, which is the other Rinaldi car, the sister car to the car that we know was tied up in that. We're about to come back to green flag racing. Again, Hugo Schwarzer backing up the field, as absolutely is his wont, to see whether or not he can second guess the trigger point for the dash towards the line in the green flag. And now he goes, and does indeed get a couple of car lengths on the Gebhardt Motorsports Duquesne. It is still a Duquesne 1-2. We're going back green flag racing, Johnny Palmer.
Yeah, with the same amount of time that we had at the start of the race, effectively. So 2 hours was the build length of this race, and we haven't lost any on the run to the checkered flag. Some of that's under caution, of course, and already an early move being fancied by Bence Valent in the blue and yellow car to the high side for Reiter Engineering. Was he just about on the racetrack? I think so, but he now can't cut across Lena Bouler's car to firm up that position. If he's not careful, he'll end up in the gravel trap. Bouler still fighting it, and now there's a spinner further back, which is car 86.
That's the other RHGP car.
So one RHGP car leads the race. The other one is going to be stone last now in LMP3 as it tumbles down. That's Anton Ducat. So Ducat had been making the progress prior to the red flag, and now has undone, or had undone for him, all of that very hard work, because he's going to rejoin, possibly outside of the top 10 in LMP3 Pro-Am, let alone the category that he actually runs in.
I can tell you he has still not rejoined the race at turn 3. Yellow flags are there, double yellows are there. So let's hope that Antoine looks like he has just got the car moving. So yellows are now withdrawn at turn 3. We've got a green, full green track Hugo Schwarzer leads the race from Valentino Catalano. It is still Terence Woodward in the lead of LMP3 Pro-Am, and Vanina X retains the lead in GT3, Johnny.
So again, a spot of carnage, you might say, at La Gauche corner on the restart. Everybody else, though, got through. Remember, the tyre temperature will be next to nothing again, even though we had 1 lap behind the safety car. But normally there are 2 formation laps at the very start of the race, which offers everyone the chance to swerve the cars from left to right and get the heat into the Michelin tyres. Safety car less productive in that, but that's the case when there is an incident. You've got to restart the race in some way. Here are the 2 leaders in GT3. Vanina Ricks in the pink and white Porsche ahead of the dark green and Blackthorn Aston Martin, which goes very, very wide coming out of Galp corner. And let's hope that Alex Martin didn't hit the gravel trap before able to coax the car back onto the racing line, but he will have lost a bit of time to Vanina in that process.
He's carried on through. It looked to me like he was looking for the right turning point to take maximum advantage and missed it. Side by side here between Team Virage and is that the 92 car? So that's the 92 and the number 16. All sorts of battles being fought here in pack racing here at Portimão. 90 minutes to go in this 2-hour race with a time that we lost under red flag being re-added. So no racing time lost for any of these drivers. Hugo Schwarzer leads by 1.3 seconds from Valentino Catalano. Pierre-Alexandre Prevot in the CLX Motorsport car is right with the second place car. Behind that little lot, there's 4, 5, 6 cars contesting all sorts of places in both LMP3 and LMP3 Pro-Am.
This is just how we like it. Everyone getting stuck in the right sense. Now the 2 Odessas ganging up on the number 6 A&S car. So Cedric Ultramar has departed this scene. Oh no, he's in there still. Ultramar immediately behind the number 6 then of Marcus Pommer. And then it's Henry Cubides in the number 4 Nielsen Odess. They're fighting over 10th and 11th and 12th positions. Hugo Schwarzer, in the meantime, builds a lead on lap 13 to 1.5 seconds over Valentino Catalano's Gebhardt Motorsport car. But Pierre-Alexandre Prevot providing a bit of a distraction, more than a distraction actually for Catalano. He'll be keeping his eyes in the mirrors, more so than being able to catch up with the race leader.
Yeah, fastest lap of the race goes to Lena Bueller, now up into 4th place and pushing hard. In fact, the 2 cars ahead of her, identical lap times last time around. It's not going to be easy to make progress here. This is the Code Racing number 11 car battling away with the EB Motors number 95 Porsche. That is for 3rd place. Both those cars have made good progress since we went back to green flag running, in particular the EB Motors Porsche, which started at the very back of the grid. So Hugo Schwarzer still leading the race from Valentino Catalano. We're watching here battle for the middle order in LMP3. A&S Motorsports cars, CLX Motorsport, they're involved, CD Sport in there, and the number 4 Odess from Nielsen Racing. So this is the battle for 10th place in the final point scoring position.
An awkward spot for Steve Parrow.
Oh, trouble.
And that's one of the Odess. Now, is that the fight that I was describing? No, that's further back, isn't it? So Colin Noble and Samir Ben, I would suggest.
You're right.
Number 74. So Ben's already spinning there. Samir Ben.
I wonder if Colin actually went off in avoidance of the spin, because it looked like he was going. I think he saw the car spinning ahead of him and it sort of spooked him out of that line.
Yeah, it's not a bad shout. Well, both cars are now going to head down the order, and of course Nielsen's plan ahead of this was the number 7 car in the hands of gold-graded Colin Noble. Should have been making and was making some good ground in terms of track position, and then the car would be handed over to teammates in a much better spot. But unfortunately, that is going to massively kibosh the opportunity there for Nielsen Racing, as Colin's not even back in the race yet.
He's not quite yet. He's still dropping down the order, looking for... Yes, now back and moving. I think he's pitted the car. He has pitted the car. This, by the way, battle for 2nd place now, because the EB Motors car is making great progress up the order.
Yes. And the other thing I was going to note was that Steve Parrow, no longer, but he'd found himself wedged between the two GT3 leaders. Steve Parrow drives the LMP3 Pro-Am car, which is currently second in the championship on 67 points, so trailing the sister Rinaldi car by only 8. And the pole positions won't have changed that, will it? No, because it went to Terence Woodward. So it's still an 8-point gap, but unfortunately Steve Parrow's way down in 9th place now and has fallen behind the top four GT3 cars, 2 of which are these cars, Alex Martin and Sabino De Castro, in the multicoloured Ebby Motors Porsche. Multicoloured wheels on this car as well. They do that in whatever category of racing they compete in. No strangers to, for instance, the 24H series as well, going to venues like Dubai and Mugello, but found themselves in ACO rules racing. And there is the first and the second and the third place cars then, illustrated on our graphic at the bottom of the screen.
Worth adding, by the way, has been spectacular progress on the EB Motors car. That's less surprising when you consider the driver aboard that car is their silver driver.
Yep.
They have chosen to start, well, they had to start the silver driver because they didn't qualify. You therefore must start the race with the faster driver.
That does go towards explaining why De Castro's been making such progress. Prepare for full course yellow in the next few seconds, and that is because of a slippery road surface at several locations, but starting at turn 10.
That's going to be the instant sight for Colin Noble, isn't it? There's a change there as they came to full course yellow. Now that was between the two Kessel racing cars, so the trigger point there is going to be important. Remember, these two cars are both in championship contention.
So when was the signal given, and did either of them slow down too late is the question.
Well, that right there, we saw it on camera, is exactly what Romano Ricci was attempting to explain, albeit a little bit pumped up from Romano to Steph a little earlier. Here is the number 7 Ades back out of the pit, so that car is back out and running, albeit way down 38th place now. So clean up on aisle 5, I think is, I think it's aisle 10 actually.
Yeah.
That would be where we saw both the Team Virage car of Samir Ben and the Ades of Colin Noble, probably both dragging a fair amount of the gravel back onto the racing surface. So it all goes quiet for a moment.
Again, we've had moments of absolutely intense action, separated by the odd full course yellow, a couple of safety cars, and of course that red flag as well, which actually hasn't eaten into the 2-hour race distance. The safety cars and the full course yellows do.
Bit of debris, I've noticed, being removed there from one that would by one of the marshals from that instant site. So maybe there was a tap between the two cars.
True, yeah. So maybe a bit of bodywork is the clue to that. It all happened at the top of the hill at the corner known as Portimão. And then there's that swoop coming out of 11 downhill as you fall off the face of a cliff and go through the very quick left-hander at turn 12. But before reaching turn 12, Colin Noble was already on the beach, and not in a good way.
We're going back to green flag running in about 5 seconds' time.
So again, crucial really where you are on the racetrack when you get the signal to go back to full speed as well, and the fact that some will have to get back up the speed and then almost straight away onto the brakes, down through the gears to negotiate a relatively slow speed corner.
Look at the gap that Hugo Schwarzer has pulled out as we've gone back to green flag running. RHGP's Hugo Schwarzer a corner ahead effectively of the challengers.
It's condensed a little bit through the next split. Here are the two Ferraris still doing battle. Innocenti in the white car ahead of Chiudoroglu in the red Kessel racing car.
They switched back again. They switched back again. I wonder if that was done competitively or an acknowledgement there was a mistake made. But the 17 is now ahead again of the 33. Car 85, meanwhile, and it's the Iron Dames, under investigation, safety car procedure. This is the battle for second place. CLX Motorsports 87 car in the hands of Pierre-Alexandre Provost, putting real pressure now on Valentino Catalano and the Gebhardt Motorsport Duquesne. Both lock up, the Duquesne more so. That's given the CLX car a chance to get alongside. Leonard Buehler's right there as well, Johnny.
So second, third and fourth positions right together at Sagres corner. And now they're heading for Galp, the long lingering right-hander at 15. Very bumpy through there as well. Look at the cars moving around on a high-speed part of the track. Surely your foot is buried through there, and you're just relying on the science of aerodynamicism, if that's a word, to keep the car glued to the road surface.
I confirm it's not.
Well, I think it should be, and I'm going to get onto the Collins Dictionary for 2026. Down the inside goes the blue car of, that's Bence Valent, isn't it? And Bence Valent has picked off Lena Bula to also be involved in this fight as well. So second, third, fourth, fifth. Louis Rousset's not that far away either in sixth position. So Hugo Schwarzer, yes, he's checked out. It wasn't quite to the extent of 7.5 seconds that we saw during the full course yellow, but it is 5 and a bit more, whereas the next 5 cars are separated by the same distance, in fact even less than that. So podium positions well up for grabs, but Hugo Schwarzer just letting his dominance show, as he and his teammate have managed to do in the previous 2 races for sure.
De Castro all over the back of the Blackthorn car, and plenty of flashing going on as well. You can see there, and again, he's in a hurry to get through. It's Alex Martin, not in a hurry to let him do that, and neither should he be.
Good times from both Lorenzo Innocenti and Murat Chuadoroglu, by the way. So they were the 2 Ferraris doing battle. Innocenti's got ahead of Alessandro Cozzi, though, now, as well. More yellow flags being displayed. This is at turn 13.
Now alongside, EB Motors trying to get the job done, but that Aston Martin has got great straight line speed. It's the silver-ranked driver trying to get on to terms with the bronze-ranked Alex Martin. Martin having none of it, and this is helping Vanina Ricks ahead just to keep that gap and maybe just extend it by a tenth or 2.
This might provide an answer. No, this isn't turn 13, this is turn 10 with 2 cars side by side. But did something happen a couple of corners after this? The number 4 car is Henry Cubides, rather, on the inside of that corner. And then the very next corner is now De Castro goes around the outside, or at least tries to, on the Aston Martin. I wonder whether we've cut away from precisely what happened at turn 13 to get back to the live action. Anyway, the yellow flags, they were double waved yellows, but they've been withdrawn now, and the whole track is green again as the Aston Martin and the Porsche duke it out for second and third in GT3.
Still, Porsche driver irritated by the form of Alex Martin ahead. Was he alongside here? He was, but not enough. And again, Alex Martin had enough in the bank. There might well have been a little bit of elbows out there.
Again, they're not sure there was any contact, and there isn't a rule in this championship that says you must leave space for a car alongside you on the exit. As long as you are marginally ahead, then it is judged to be your corner. So certainly Alex Martin was taking the rules to their very extreme, but still within them, I would wager.
I didn't see anything there that I thought was uncalled for. Looks like the Porsche driver's flasher button's broken because it's pretty constantly flashing now.
It stopped again, but maybe it's one of those single button presses and you get about 25 out of them.
It's probably a bit of a tick. You know. But at this stage, my guess is rude words in Spanish are being said.
Another driver to look out for now is Max Meyer in the high-class racing car number 20, because he's just done the fastest lap of the race as the 2 GT3 cars, second and third, overlap one another again. So De Castro got his front wheels level with the Aston's rears and might have an inside line here as they head for Galp and the final corner to stream across.
Oh, he loses it.
And that's going to be a huge incident in the number 33 car, not 33, the Porsche that is number 95, thank you.
Watch it again. Clips the curb. He was already lost the rear end, hadn't he?
Yeah.
He was trying to clip the corner and it was just too far to go. He did extremely well to gather that back up. And I think this is a guy that just needs to cool down a little.
Very difficult, particularly in a Porsche where the engine hangs out beyond the rear axle, where all of that weight just desperately wants the car to spin, basically. And it tried its level best, but Sabino showing his experience at the wheel of whether it be a GT3 Porsche or a Porsche Cup car that he's driven on many occasions as well in other championships. So got off the throttle, straightened things up, and of course has lost time compared to Alex Martin's Blackthorn Aston, but he didn't lose a position.
But look at Alex Martin, freed up from the pressure from behind from the flashing EB Motors car. He's immediately caught the Iron Dames car, Vanina Ricks, already under investigation. That this might be a real threat to the lead from the number 85 car of Vanina. Iron Dames versus Blackthorn, Porsche versus Aston Martin. No shortage of action. The midfield, the touch there on the back of the Reiter Engineering car from the CLX car. And there's damage to the number 87 car. And there might well be damage to the rear of the Reiter car. There's smoke coming from the left rear corner.
And a bit of debris dropping off the car as well. I can't see any immediate damage to the CLX.
It looks to me like there was damage, I think.
More touch thing there. And that's the Gebhardt car with a bit of a side swipe. 23 Events Racing may well have been involved as well. So Bence Valent, although damaged, that car is running now third, ahead of Pierre-Alexandre Provost in the CLX car, Lena Bula, and it was Max Meyer potentially making contact at Tora VIP as well. And this is a very delicate situation now, because charge down the inside line for Alex Martin to maybe take the lead in GT3, but Vanina Ricks has got the line for the next corner. That Aston does look very, very good, though, off the slower speed stuff. And here comes Sabino Di Castro to maybe do both of them on the brakes into Tora VIP. He's level with the Aston, which misjudges its braking point. It goes a little bit wide. Di Castro will take second as a result. Although again, and now...
Trouble. CD Sports and the Biogas Motorsports, and this is turn 10-11. Double yellows there. They're going to have to be heads up about the fact they're coming into an incident site any moment now. And Alex Martin's got back ahead of the Porsche. What a battle this is proving to be.
Terrific stuff. It's not quick for any
double
of the
yellows
three cars.
here.
Well, that's where the incident is, and there's a severely
That's the 87
crabbing,
car. That's the 87 car.
which is the one that you suggested had damage, Pierre-Alexandre Provost.
But that was damage at the rear, not at the front. That's had another incident.
Oh, that's why I couldn't spot the damage earlier that we were talking about, because I was looking on the rear. Right, so you reckon the damage on the nose, but there's far more crucial damage now, and that is as a result of a clash with the biogas Ferrari, which put it into the path then of the CD Sport car, which is going to enter shot very shortly, and boom.
Oh, that's a big hit as well.
So nose-to-nose contact. There's Rahel Fry's reaction to it. She's been doing some commentary this year as well with us.
She has indeed. That's expert analysis there from Rahel. It's the international language for, oh dear, safety car.
Getting a bit tasty.
Safety car is called for what will be multiple debris, and is the 87. So it was both CLX cars involved in at least 2 and I think 3 different incidents. The 97 was involved in the initial incident with the biogas car. The 87 involved in a separate incident, and this I think is where you're going to see the damage coming to the 87. That's the first incident. But there's damage to the rear of that car now.
Certainly created some tyre rub for Bence Valent.
But the 87 has now got damage to the rear as well.
Yeah, because it sideswiped the biogas.
I thought that was the 97. Maybe
I think it's too much of a coincidence, in truth, for it to... I kind of considered automatically that it was the 87, but if you saw 97 on the side, then fair dues. But that car then heavily crabbing after what I'm going to suggest was contact at Portimão with the biogas Ferrari.
I'll give you that one. I think that's probably right. It's I have been mistaken with those 2 cars this season. Here's the 30 car. This is the car that made nose-to-nose contact with the Ferrari from CD Sports. 23 is going no further. See it once again. It is the 97.
You're right. So the 87 not involved in that, and therefore why on earth has that got all of a sudden damage on the rear? Unless, well, it's easy for cameras to play tricks sometimes with our eyes. But Cedric Ultramar is still running in 9th place. The crucial thing is whether we get a message from race control to say an incident that involves the 23 biogas car and the 97 CLX is being investigated. Only then will we get full confirmation of it. But it certainly did look like 97 as it crept through shot there.
Yeah. Look again.
Here it is. It's contact on the rear right.
That is the 97.
It says 97. So is it 90? I don't know. I don't know why the 87 all of a sudden now has
I think the 87
contact.
has had another contact, and we've not seen that.
But also, what side was damaged on the 87? Was that rear left? I think it was rear left.
Yeah. So the 87, I think, had minor damage from the issue, the hit with the Reiter car. Semi Ben, wasn't it? And then it's had a further incident at some point on the following lap.
Yeah, but I think the wheel that's buckled or had suspension broken on it is the rear left, so that wouldn't therefore. I mean, I've seen sufficient evidence now that tells me that that was Cedric Ultramar, but the 87 car of Pierre-Alison Provost has had some sort of significant contact on the left-hand side of his car.
Yeah.
As Josip Maiola gets instruction from the marshals to head to a point of safety. They've not had a great season either, although they do have one standout result, I remember, Biogas Motorsport. As I check my notes, car number 23, yeah, with a third-place finish at Silverstone.
Being corrected, and this is one of the perils of these multi-race weekends, thanks to Jens Jensen and the media room. The car under investigation is 85. That car is not 85, that is car 83. 85 is the race leader. So under investigation for safety car procedure is the race leader, Hugo Schwarzer, not Vanina Ricks. So apologies to Iron Dames fans, and I've given them a bit of a fright. Vanina good to go, Hugo Schwarzer maybe not so. Also not good to go is the 23 car, the Biogas Motorsport car being taken to place of safety. The 87 car looks like it's going no further, and a shiny new unliveried nose on the number 30 CD Sport car we're hearing from Steph Wentworth, and that car will be rejoining the race, and indeed has done so in the hands of Thomas Imborg.
There are recovery cranes and vehicles shooting off in all kinds of directions. We do have a small view of the start-finish straight from our commentary position, and one just set off in the wrong direction to race traffic, which alerted me, but it's the right side of the safety barrier, thankfully. So that is heading up towards turn 15 now to attend to potentially the stricken CLX car, which is 87. Remains to be seen whether Cedric Ultramar is now carrying a bit of damage on the 97 car after its side-to-side contact with that Biogas Ferrari. But the Ferrari sadly is out of the race. I think ordinarily it might have been able to drive away from that incident, but then the CD Sport car arrived on the scene. Did we work out which CD Sport car
30.
that was?
30.
3-0.
That's
okay.
the car that needed the new nose that
yes.
emerged. So, yeah, it's been hectic. We keep talking about using the phrase development series for Michelin Le Mans Cup, and provides all sorts of practice, not just for the teams, the drivers, and everybody in the pit lane, as we're into the pit window now, aren't we?
And as I said earlier on, the safety car doesn't affect this. So it's not as if you can't do your pit stop, your driver change, your tyre change under a safety car
If you're
intervention.
If you're smart, you do it right now. And staying out has perils at this point, because if this race goes back to green,
yeah,
everybody that's currently on pit lane is going to get a massive advantage. Remember, there is a that light is green, so why is that car does now start from the end of pit lane?
I don't think it was, but the final cars have to exit the safety car block, if you like, from safety car 1, which is ahead of the finish line on the start-finish straight, and the safety car 2 line, which is just going into Primera corner. So you have to wait for that final car to clear safety car 2. And the number 10 car...
That's Racing Split Le Mans. That's Ralph Kellener's joining the race.
Has just done a pit stop, hasn't it? Yes.
Good to see Ralph down in the paddock.
I just wonder whether that leading gaggle of LMP3s, 13 of them, did they all arrive at pit lane entry just a little bit too early? As in, there hadn't been 50 minutes of the race by that point. And it is slightly confusing because we have a clock that's counting up at this stage, which is reading 1 hour and 9 minutes, and the time to go is 1 hour and 8 minutes. And obviously, when you add those two together, that's a little more than the 2 hours, but that is because of the just less than 20-minute red flag that we had, and therefore the extra time which has been incorporated. But we have had the 50 minutes because the countdown clock now displays 1 hour and 7, i.e. less than 1 hour and 10. But yeah, I can't believe that RHGP would have allowed their race leading car to go by the pit lane with the safety car potentially going to be withdrawn at any moment. But it's not going to come in at the end of this lap because the lights are still flashing as they reach Sagres corner. And here then is the chance for everyone else who hasn't already made their stop to do so. Might there also be an element of race control thinking we'll keep this safety car out to provide everyone the chance to make a pit stop, otherwise it's somewhat unfair. We're going to get a rather bizarre result. Was that Ralph Kellner's back in the pit lane, by the way?
Let's have a quick look. Ralph...
yes, he was.
Is he? He's shown as being on his outlap on...
Yes, he is, but I've just tracked across. Oh, no, I got the wrong line, beg your pardon. So 2 minutes 52 seconds was the pit stop. I thought that he was coming out from a 34-second pit stop, but that's the car above it on the timing screen. Very small timing screens we have this weekend, that's my excuse.
It's incredibly busy on pit lane. Let's just hope nobody makes a minor error here.
But at the front was the 86. But that's the car that's had various problems through the course of this event. That's Anton Ducan now handing over to Pierre Edgar. So, strictly speaking, you shouldn't lose a position, but the problem is about unsafe releases here. So there's still the scope for the order to change. If your pit stop is just a few tenths better than your near neighbour, is it then safe to release the car into what's going to be a frantically busy fast lane?
It's going to be all sorts of shenanigans here, and it's about how just exactly where were these cars when they made the pit stop, and was it an error to stay out for the second lap?
No, but the point I was making was, I think if you were Hugo Schwarzer, the 50 minutes hadn't elapsed by the time you were coming out.
I think you're right. I think you're completely right.
So there wasn't an option to come in.
For me, I'm actually looking at the GT3 field here, and I think there might be potentially quite a big shake-up here as a result of the cars opting to pit on different laps in the lead group.
Yeah.
Just seen the number 91 car emerge from the pits, but the Iron Dames and EB Motors chose to stay out for a further lap. So let's keep an eye on that as the Writer Engineering team go to work on the 25. All will shake out. At the moment, we've got cars that made early pit stops, and there's a big shake-up here, because the race is going to be led by, the look of it, by the 34 LMP3 Pro-Am into Europol car.
Wow.
Did that car stop within the window? If it did, we've got that car and the 44 Team Virage car now in the hands of Leo Sami Robinson that will lead this race. Now, that might shake up depending on where the safety car is on track. But
2 minutes 50 is the time that everyone needs to be in pit lane.
Keeping an eye on that. And
or 170 seconds, whichever you prefer.
I'm seeing nobody in trouble, but plenty that have done a lot more than that.
Yeah. Including, in fact, the two new race leaders. They were 3 and 2 seconds more.
Oh, I'm talking here about 3 minutes 23 seconds for one of the Team Virage cars, and I think that's because of pit lane congestion.
Well, also a red light at the end of the pit lane, because several of them had to stop.
Here comes the... That is the 85 car for Adrian David now. It looks to me like the 23 Events Racing team, Matteo Quintarelli, has made significant progress, but I'm looking at the timing screen and that reads 2 minutes and 49 seconds. Oh dear.
And now the EB Motors Porsche is being told to stop, but at least it had observed the red light, because you can be in very hot water if you don't see that.
Now that is a problem. So let's
when
watch
did the light turn red? Oh, there, and that's presumably where the EB Motors, the Iron Dames Porsche needed to stop as well.
Well, did they, or were they beyond the point of no return?
Is the question, and it's very tricky to tell from that camera angle.
That was properly edgy.
So
there's a point there that, you know, yes, there's a red light. There is a line at the end of pit lane. If you're over that line, do you go or don't you?
yeah. And you also have to be wary about cars immediately behind you as well, because if you slam on the anchors, then cars behind you aren't going to be able to react in time either. A bit like being on the road, I suppose, although you do get an amber and a red when you're on the road to warn at least that the lights are about to stop you. But Ebby Motors Porsche, number 95, did cease, and I would argue that was absolutely the right thing to do for Fabrizio Broggi, that he had a car's length and a bit more warning than Marta Garcia. But it's given Marta Garcia a bigger lead now in car number 83. Obviously, all of this is going to condense under the safety car, but there will be no pass around in this championship. So now, is there a concern down at Iron Dames about a red light that was breached there by Marta Garcia? Rahel Fry is somewhat partisan, I suppose, but the conversations are being had. It's going to be looked at.
Oh, it absolutely should be looked at. I'm genuinely not sure.
No, nor me. And as I say, it's tough because the camera, our camera, is right at the end of the main straight, so it shortens everything up.
We've not got a great perspective on that. Certainly, the car that was directly behind stopped. We'll see. We'll see. It is just over an hour to go. We're onto the safety car for recovery of the number 87 CLX Motorsport car, which has just disappeared from the tracker. And you would guess, therefore, that car is now in a place of safety and likely with power off. And that car had been involved, we think, in 2 separate incidents. Race is being led after a real shake-up with the safety car coming out as the pit window opened, giving some cars an early opportunity to come in by the 34 Inter-Europol competition car of Rashid Shawn. That is an LMP3 Pro-Am car. The 44 from Team Virage is another LMP3 Pro-Am. That car too has leapfrogged the entire LMP3 field. Trouble here, by the way, for one of the Ryder Engineering cars. That's the 25. Looks to be done. That was the car that was damaged in the initial clash with the 87. So I think that car has called it quits. The lead car in LMP3 is our championship winning car. They got that done last time out. It is the RHGP car of Adrian David. Second in the order is the 23 Events Racing number 50 car of Matteo Cantarelli. But that car appears to have broken the bogey time for the fixed time for pit stop by 1 single second. And looking down the order, Johnny, I can see nobody else having done that. So if anybody's in trouble, it's the 50.
Yeah.
Behind that, it's the surviving CLX Motorsport car, the 97, that was actually itself involved in an incident that eventually accounted for the 23 biogas Ferrari. LMP3 Pro-Am, the 3rd place car, is actually down in 14th place. That's the other 23 Events Racing car, Terence Woodward. And then GT3, led by the Iron Dames, Marta Garcia. But there is some concern as to whether or not there might be a investigation around whether or not Marta passed the red light at the end of pit lane. It came out as she was exiting pit lane. And it's the timing and positioning of light and stop line that's going to be critical. I have to say, there is concern.
For sure. Oh, that's exactly the point I was going to make. I mean, cameras are trained on the Iron Dames staff members on pit lane, and clearly they're having a conversation about it. And we were fed, along with you watching at home, a replay of how the cars rejoined from their pit stops, and as the red light turned red, so green to red, it appeared that the Iron Dames car then went back into the race. But how much warning Marta Garcia got about that is the question mark.
Right, I can bring a little bit more information that I know many people have been waiting for. I can tell you that's after that incident that brought out the red flag. 4 cars involved in that incident. We saw Romano Ricci on pit lane talking to Steph Wentworth. He was clearly okay. He was, though, of course, checked by Circuit Medical and is absolutely fine. The same applies to Ben Stone. He too has been seen by the medical staff here at the circuit and has been released. 2 other cars involved in that. It was the 71 car of Stefan Aust and the 49 car of Order Gudmundsson. Both drivers are okay, have been taken to hospital for further checkups. So as far as we can tell you right now, the diagnosis from circuit medical staff is that all 4 drivers are fine, but 2 drivers have been taken to the hospital for further checkups. There are a wide variety of trigger points, if you like, to escalate investigations into that, and that's exactly the right decision made by the circuit medical staff. So thanks for all of them for the intervention, and Auden and Stefan will be just getting some checkups at the local hospital.
Excellent news. So they're all in good hands, and I'm sure the championship via social media channels will communicate further updates, but it sounds like everything is okay as we speak, and all of the right precautions are being taken. That's part of the reason why we weren't concentrating on the incident itself and how it had happened, because far more important the health and well-being of the competitors involved. And now into the second hour of this truncated final Michelin Le Mans Cup race of the season. We have an order, but 1 or 2 question marks floating around, not least for the leader in LMP3, which is the 3rd place car on the road, I'll remind you. Now driven by Adrian David, but under investigation for safety car procedures. The race is actually led by 2 LMP3 Pro-Am cars of Rashid Shawn and Leo Robinson for Inter-Europol competition and Team Virage, so 34 ahead of 44. And the other one that hasn't actually been flagged on our screen as being investigated, but I'm sure will be, is Marta Garcia's Iron Dames Porsche, how it rejoined from the pit stop. And to add to that list, Matteo Quintarelli, 2nd in LMP3. We think his pit stop time is too short.
Generally speaking, we always say
that's hook, line and sinker, isn't it?
You've got to look at the actual timing data rather than presented timing data, but I've yet to see that go the other way.
Yeah,
I think he's in trouble.
Yeah,
all sorts of shenanigans as well as to where the order is behind this safety car, because it is not the race leader behind the safety car. It's first behind the safety car. It's the number 10 car, delayed Racing Spirit Le Mans car, which sits 6th in LMP3 Pro-Am. Ralph Kellner's car is the first car behind the Porsche. There it is. And then behind that is, I think that's the 86 RHGP car, another car that was delayed.
But I think we'll restart like that. There will be no pass around.
Okay, cars behind the safety car have been instructed to overtake the safety car.
There you go.
Fair enough.
That's the right decision.
34, you are the leader. 34, you are the leader. You stop behind the safety car.
So this saves us a GT3 race, I can tell you, because as things stood, effectively, Marta Garcia had pretty much a lapse gap on the field.
Yeah. So not strictly speaking a pass around. All of the cars, I think, have been identified by race control and given individual instructions, possibly on Discord.
There is the 34. It's pretty simple. It's a train of cars that's now been released. And
whereas pass arounds are more complicated than that. And as I say, there is no
all
rule.
Cars doing the wave by to catch up the line of safety car as quick and as safe as possible.
There is no rule for an ELMS or a World Endurance Championship style pass around in the Mans Cup. But yes, the safety car initially picked up the race leader. The problems begin when that race leader then pits for its scheduled pit stop, and the safety car can end up with a totally random car in behind, which would have been many laps down. But as you say, the crucial thing is to try and not separate the other categories.
The key to what we're looking at here, Johnny, is the timing of the pit stop window. And if they've got it right, and they will counter, they absolutely do have it right, that Inter-Europol competition have nailed the timing on this. Still watching here, though, and there are still some issues in that if you look in the order behind the safety car, that's the EB Motors car. That was contesting second, indeed the lead, coming into the pit stop window. and they're now sort of trapped in that train. Remember, that was the car that waited for the pit stop light. They've lost a lap.
Yes, yes. And sometimes that can happen, unfortunately, with a badly timed red light at the end of the pit lane. But the crucial thing was that Broggi obeyed that. But unfortunately, all of the hard work done by the silver-graded Sabino Di Castro in the opening stint has now been completely undone, with those GT cars waved into a further advantage.
Car 83 now being shown under investigation. Pit stop exit light, and also car 91 under investigation for full course yellow infringement. That is the Blackthorn car.
First, and indeed second, in GT3 currently.
Again, I'm making absolutely no assumptions. From what we saw, I couldn't call it. I wouldn't even give you an opinion because I've not seen what Martin Garcia has seen. As you say, we get a foreshortened shot from the angle we've not got a pit lane camera looking at that light, but we're about to see, once this 12-car train has rejoined the pack, and they're about to do that. Not quite sure they're going to be there in time for this to go green again this time around, although they are catching very quickly.
So 3 crucial cars under investigation as we speak. The 85 that leads LMP3, RHGP, and for Adrian David now, Hugo Schwarzer began the race. So he leads his category, and then we're talking about the GT3 race leader and the GT3 second-placed car now under investigation as well.
Would add, by the way, that we've got all 3 title contenders in GT3 in line astern, but in the opposite order of their point scoring at the moment in the championship. So the 17 is running 4th, the 33 5th, and the 51 in 6th place, with 1 car ahead of them, the Blackthorn car, not a championship registered car and therefore ineligible for points.
Okay. Still, the clear-up continues, so the safety car is going to stay out for at least 1 more lap. 6 retirees already, unfortunately, still with 50 minutes of the race to go.
Looking as well as if there's going to be a 7th with the Writer Engineering 25 not looking set to rejoin this race. So it has been incident-filled, not in a good way. Rueful look there from Nico Lapierre in the CLX Motorsports garage. They've lost one of their cars, the 87. The 97, though, is in real contention here. And 50 minutes to go. Cars coming around now to turn 5, and I feel we may be getting this race back underway pretty soon.
There are our 3 category leaders. 2 of them are under investigation, though. 85 and 83, both being looked at. The other one, Rashid Shawn, pretty new to this championship, but he's leading, and not just leading his category, leading overall.
If they've got this right, they've nailed it in terms of the pit stop window. Did see that car heading towards the pit in line and braking very hard indeed, and almost seemed, from our perspective, to pause at pit in. But again, it's that foreshortened shot.
Yeah.
But if they've got it right, boy, have they pulled a blinder there.
So Rashid Shawn's done some racing in the UK, a couple of seasons in
Safety
GB3.
car in this lap. Safety car in this lap. No overtake before the line. No overtake before the line.
We are going back to green flag running.
Rashid, hailing from Atlanta, Georgia, 30 years old, does have, as I say, some experience of racing in Europe, but has never taken part in ACO rules racing before. So possibly less used to this type of restart as well. Normally used to standing starts in his single-seater days. Let's see how he gets on. Just a few meters ahead of Leo Robinson, who again is still fairly early on in his ACO rules career. But the 2 of them are kind of neck and neck, actually, as they get going and head across the line with 48 minutes and change left on the clock. There is the number 95 Porsche of Fabrizio Broggi, who's actually 7th in GT3.
Side by side, the Writer car, is that the GG Classics car? It is, as they try to mix it up. These cars are not in the lead group. There's all sorts of shenanigans. Car 50, our 2nd place car in LMP3, will be getting a drive-through penalty for track limits, and we think may be in trouble as well for pit stop time. So that number 50 car is in real dire straits at this stage.
The LMP3 Pro-Ams are having a stonking fight out front, and that is partly because they've been waved into a whole load of freedom as now the GT Classics car goes sideways. And I'm not sure whether that was just a bit too much right foot or whether there was a tap on the rear of the 58 car, but that spins to the inside. Fraser Ross coming out of Tora Vip. Rest of the cars now reaching that tricky right-hander through the kink known as Craig Jones in honour of the late motorcyclist.
Meantime, Adrian David is trying to make his way through this traffic and get to those two Pro-Am cars at the lead of the field. The moment he leads the class and not the race. All sorts of stuff going on here. You can't take your eyes off it. Car 10 is also under investigation. That is Ralph Kellener's pit exit rear light, red light. 47 minutes to go, Johnny Palmer. A brave man if he called this one.
I'm not even going to attempt it, as again, cars just scrap for road position more than anything else, flooding their way out of Galp. I will say that there's only, well, it was half a second, it stretched out to 0.7 a second between Adrian David and David Drew, who are leading LMP3. 4
wide coming into turn 1. It's not going to work that way, and indeed a couple of them have to just duck out of it. It's frenetic stuff here, but clean at the moment. The Epi Motors car getting shuffled back as we get the LMP3 cars coming through. Remember the 95 car, the Epi Motors car now with the bronze driver aboard, and it is at risk of being lapped here by Marta Garcia, who is rapidly approaching in this huge pack of cars. Crests the brow just behind and is going to be sandwiched, and there's contact there with and from two LMP3 cars on the EP Motors car.
Quintarelli quite aside from his drive-through penalty, and also a potential penalty for a pit stop that was too short. It's getting shuffled back down the order anyway. He's been overtaken by Roman Favre and Oscar Tuño.
The two Porsches now together, and this is for the Iron Dames car to put a lap on the 95. Watching here, hit check, there was one contact and then it was pushed into the other car, so there was contact left and right.
There's another car to be added to the list about red lights for pit lane exit. I'm not sure you mentioned
86,
those.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you mention the 91 5-second penalty as well?
That's just happened,
right.
So they will have 5 seconds added. Now, that's the second place car, currently in the hands of Charlie Bateman, and that will at the moment cost them, what, 1, 2, possibly 4 places. Here comes the 33 car. This is all about a championship run for the 33. David Fumanelli looking to do what he can to leapfrog up the order. The 91 car, by the way, ineligible for points, but that's not going to matter for Fumanelli. He wants to get to the Porsche ahead.
Well, yes, the crucial thing is that, okay, the Aston's not taking any points away from the red Ferrari, but it is obstructing its path, Fumanelli's path, to Marta Garcia. So he's got to get past Charles Bateman some way, somehow, and then try and close the gap on the Spaniard, who still leads at the moment, still leads on the road, but is under investigation, and there are more cars now under investigation for pit entry behaviour, which rather goes back to what you were saying. 34 is not in the list, but 44 is for Leo Robinson.
Not that surprised. I thought I saw cars almost stopping at pit entry, trying to, I think, get to the point where they've got the pit window open.
Yeah. And the other cars in that list, Mikhail Pitamba's Team Virage 74 car, which is 13th in LMP3. The 11 car, which is the Code Racing Development Aston Martin for now, David
Fourth in
Coolman.
GT3, yeah.
4th for Coolman, and 86. Well, that's just had a myriad of incident going on.
Well, the 86 is under investigation for behaviour on the way in and on the way out the pit, so that's the full house there.
And now the team manager of 85 that leads LMP3 is being summoned to the stewards immediately.
That is the investigation for safety car procedures that we heard earlier, and I misidentified the car, and again my apologies. It is indeed the 85 RSGP car that's under investigation, not the Iron Dames. They themselves, though, have got a further investigation for a pit exit rear light. Fumanelli here is on a charge, looking to try to get away past Charlie Bateman. Goes to the inside, but there's an LMP3 car up the inside of him. This is going to get tasty into turn one. Bit of a hip check maybe there from Fuminelli. Tries to bully the Aston Martin out of the way. The LMP3 car has to duck out of it, and the Ferrari is through and gone, and now trying to chase down, put a lap on the 95 EB Motors car.
Marta Garcia, not that she needs to respond necessarily because she was going a fair lick anyway, but she's just done the fastest GT3 lap of the race so far, so she's trying to extend the gap whilst the waters behind her are relatively calm. But now that Fuminelli has freed himself up from Charlie Bateman, how readily can the Italian close in on the Spaniard who leads GT3? Marta Garcia joining up again this weekend with Vanina X in the 83 Iron Dames car. She might also need as much time in hand if a penalty were to hit later on. The incident involving car, and now this is interesting, Graham. The incident involving car 23, Biogas Motorsport, yes, and the 87.
It wasn't the 87.
It wasn't the 87. We kind of established that after several replays. But maybe some in race control have done exactly the same assuming as I did. It did appear, when we finally drilled down into that, the 97 was the car involved. Anyway, they're going to look at it.
David Fuminelli is pushing hard here to make this championship battle interesting. It's currently in the with three different Ferraris in with the point scoring possibility of taking the championship. He's looking for the win here, no doubt whatsoever about it. Where are the other two cars? Well, the answer is currently fourth. Alessio Dono in the 51 car, but with a car ahead of him, he's a virtual third in points standings. And stuck in, and that's the 91. And what else is involved there? The 95, the 27.
That was the Aston Martin getting a little bit too close to the 27, but also maybe the Aston Martin driver, Charles Bateman, would argue, well, where on earth should I go in that situation? It was Lewis Hamilton Smith who was the stricken car at the end of that incident, but being spun out maybe by the Aston Martin into Primera corner. That's surely going to have to be investigated as well. Lewis Hamilton Smith is moving again, and I'm amazed that not more cars were involved down at the first corner. And the next question is, how much damage is now being carried by the Blackthorn Aston Martin? It will have lost at least a dive plane. I think it's got a puncture, actually.
Puncture front left, I think. At least a puncture.
That was the corner involved as Charles Bateman headed down towards Primera corner.
Well, let's hope for their sake it is just a puncture. Sparks flying, and there's the 20 car off. That's the surviving high-class racing car, and that was doing well at one point in the hands of Philip Lindbergh, but that's off the course as well. All sorts going off here. 40 minutes to go, and we're going to get to the point when this calms down, he said, hopefully we can start to talk about points and championships in the remaining two classes to be sorted, LMP3 Pro-Am and GT3. Meantime, Adrian David is closing in on Leo Sammy Robinson for second place overall. Is there a car in this field that's not under investigation at the moment?
I think there's certainly a question to say, is there a car that hasn't been involved in any single incident at any point?
Let's watch this again. That was Charlie Bateman going to an inside line with Lewis Hamilton Smith and hitting the right rear of the Ligier. Then trouble there. That is the number 20 car trying to recover to the track after a spin on the apex. It's up at turn 9, I think, isn't it?
Look more like 13, actually. Okay. Top of the hill. Around about here, in fact.
Yes.
And the grassy bit on the inside line. You get a great view from the media centre here of the cars dancing their way on the top of the line there between 13 and 14, tightrope style. The track's actually much wider, but the visuals deceive you. Here's well, you're not seeing it, but we are. Big tyre smoke from the punctured tyre on the Aston Martin number 91, front left.
Tyre's gone, hasn't it, really? Now, is it just a tyre? We'll soon see. They've got a tyre ready to go on the Aston Martin. We'll keep posted on that one. More side-by-side action meantime. We're going to take their time with Aston Martin, but the tyre is going on. They believe it is puncture only, and they'll release Charles Bateman for the remaining 38 minutes of this race.
Unsurprisingly, we think 4-car full course yellow accident is to be investigated, maybe even after the race actually, because there's an awful lot there to unpick, as the 86 car rather, its driver is now on the very last chance saloon for track limits. That's one of the RACE GP cars, so Pierre Edgar it is in fact who's being looked at in that respect.
I'd say, by the way, in terms of the GT3 points battle, the car that looks to be dropping out of contention at the moment is the Kessel Racing 17, dropping down the order in the hands of Andrea Bellicchi. Alessio Donna passed that car a while ago, now been passed as well by David Kuhlmann in the 11 Code Racing Aston Martin, and needed to finish ahead of the 51 to have any chance at all. As for the maths to do with the 33 and the 51, we'll bring you that shortly. Yellow flags turns 4 to 5 right now.
Tora Vip, the hairpin.
That might be the 91 again, you know.
On an outlap. So that car's just had the tyre change, and maybe now this is the point where Charles Bateman realises there's another problem.
It's the same corner.
Yeah, so has it done damage now to the braking system as well? Or potentially suspension too, but he can't get the car stopped into the hairpin underneath the rotunda here at Portimão. Jostling for Adrian David, and that was a move for second position in the race. So David in the LMP3 lead, getting ahead of the second place car overall and in LMP3 Pro-Am. Doesn't affect where Leo Robinson is in terms of his points, and it might actually be sensible to allow Adrian David to be freed now, although actually Robinson was thinking about a repaying move down the inside at Sagres, turn 3. Not Sagres, Lagos corner, turn 3, which is here, where it could easily be the first lap of the race. There are so many cars working their way through that tricky right-hander and then the flick into turn 4. There's a bit of an acceleration period, which is the straight round the back of the paddock then, running parallel with the main straight, and the new nose on car number 30 not matching the rest of its livery, but that provides me the reminder that that was the car involved in the biogas motorsport incident.
All sorts of shenanigans going on. Charlie Bateman, by the way, has had further dramas on his way back, I'm sure, to pit lane with the 91 car. We'll tell you, as things stand at the moment, the title in GT3 would go to the 51 AF Corsa car, currently running in third place. David Fuminelli needs a bigger points gap if that is going to go anywhere close to Kessel Racing. They're currently needed to make up 16 points, and the form of the 51 car just too strong at the moment to make that a realistic possibility if these cars continue undelayed. The 83 of Marta Garcia cedes track position to the 50 car, which car has taken its drive-through penalty, and it's actually a pass for position by the 50. That shows how far they've fallen. Incident involving cars 23 and 87. Still says 87.
It does. And that's a returning message, almost as if they'd taken it off initially to correct it. But it's still the incident, isn't it, involving the 23 Ferrari, but not got the correct CLX car to our mind.
Unless there was a different incident, and I don't think there was.
Unlikely. We talked about how unlikely it was the 97, because I said that's far too coincidental to then have a different incident that involves the same Ferrari. Here's the battle for the race lead. David Drew in 85, leading LMP3 up against the car of Rashid Shawn then.
Well, this is going to be an interesting one. This is for the race lead, as you say, but you've then got for LMP3, it's LMP3 Pro-Am, LMP3, LMP3 Pro-Am, LMP3, but the two lead cars in LMP3 either are or should be under investigation.
So whilst we think about all of that, a chance to head down to Steph for a catch-up.
Hello everyone, I'm joined by Charles Bateman, driver of the number 91 Blackthorn, and of course we can see you're out of the car, it's retired, which is such a shame given how well you seemed to be running all weekend.
Yeah, we've had good pace all weekend, which has been really good. Just made a small mistake into turn 1. We put a new tyre on it, but there's an ABS issue now, so had to retire the car. Yeah, a bit of a shame.
How was it? The GT3 class is incredibly close. How was it fighting amongst the other cars?
Yeah, it was all right. Didn't get me too many green flag laps, to be fair. I think had we have cleared the Porsche cleanly, I think we'd have been able to kind of close back up to the leader. But we had pace in the car. It's just one of those things.
A shame. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Thank you.
The pace was shown yesterday, for sure, in the hands of Alex Martin. Meanwhile, as we heard that interview, an overtake for the race lead as Adrian David judged that perfectly into the braking area for Toravip and picked off Rashid Shawn. But remember, we're talking about LMP3s versus LMP3 Pro-Ams. Although Shawn is the quicker, generally, of the two drivers in car number 34, so he put up a good fight, but he's relatively new to this style of racing, and the crucial thing is still leads his own category.
Okay, by the way, keep an eye on the 4th place car of David Drew. That car is catching those two LMP3 Pro-Am cars for overall position. The gap between the top 4, 3.5 seconds, pretty much nothing. So if David Drew can make rapid progress up through the order, this may not be done for the overall win. So Adrian David, already crowned champion, or confirmed champion, may not have been crowned quite yet, looking to add yet another race win to what's been a stellar season. Certainly the second half of the season for that team has been extremely impressive. They've taken, what is it, 2 wins in the last 2 rounds. Before that, 2 second places at both of the Road to Le Mans races, one of which scored them maximum points because the car ahead of them was an ELMS car guesting. They already coming into this race were 29 points ahead and looking to get another hatful of points today. No shortage though, Johnny, of battling down in the order for both of our LMP3 classes. I'm keeping an eye on what's going on with David Fuminelli. He is trying to, but not at the moment catching Marta Garcia. I'll remind you, under investigation for the pit lane exit lights.
2 A&S Motorsport cars finding one another, one with the yellow door mirrors. They're actually not on the same lap, 6 and 84. So Axel Noss in the car 6 and Paul Trajani in very much a recovering 84 car. But there are laps between them. One is 29th and 14th in P3, and the other one is 35th, 13th in Pro-Am, and trying to negotiate the CD Sport car of Artur Rodjan. Adrian David now 2.7 seconds to the good over Rashid Shawn, 2.7 seconds clear on lap 41, but the advantage over the next LMP3 car is far larger than that. David Drew is always no slouch, and he's trying to now fashion an opportunity to get by Leo Robinson, and then Roman Favre running 3rd in LMP3 for Forestier Racing by VPS. And this is one of the other VPS. No, that's the number 10 car, isn't it? So that is Racing Spirit of Le Mans, and Ralph Kellener's embroiled in all sorts of fights as well, both in front and behind as they head through La Gauche corner. And this tough left-hander, which is very crucial to then a good lap time because it feeds you onto the second longest straight around here.
So David Drew, by the way, 4th place, has caught the Team Virage number 44. Leo Sammy Robinson will be for 3rd place overall. Battle, and that's just a second behind, 7/10 of a second behind the class leading LMP3 Pro-Am class leading into Europol car. So David Drew within reach of an overall podium, and within reach as well of at least 2nd in, this is our virtual points standings. Motorsport 98 at the moment would take it, would leapfrog both Rinaldi cars.
And that
extraordinary turnaround. That is Gillian Henrion, isn't it? With
yes.
And he's just put in the fastest lap of the class's race. He's running third in class and making his way up the overall order. Griffin Peebles, by the way, where is he? He's in contention for another position to be gained with Max van der Snel. So this is not done, and there's only 2 points in it. The 75 points for Rinaldi Racing will not increase, so it's now down between the 98 and the 66. I see this going to the line.
That is because, or partly because, the 44 car in today's race, which is second in LMP3 Pro-Am, is not scoring points either, just like the 91 Blackthorn Aston Martin. So Motorsport 98's Gillian Henrion is effectively second in the point scorers in LMP3 Pro-Am, but as you say, not going to improve from there. It's very unlikely that Gillian Henrion is going to win the race unless there's major drama ahead of him.
He's 16 seconds back from the overall race lead. He's 10 seconds back from the class leader.
Yeah.
Now, what is the kind of lap times looking like? It's a 1:40.9 last time around from Rashid Shawn. Last time around from Gillian Henrion, he's taken 9/10 of a second out of it. That could be on.
You think?
It could be. You know, it's about relative pace here. 26 minutes to go. It's a 1 minute 40 lap as we get the fastest lap of the race goes to Adrian David, 1:39.562. So the pace is on the up in what's been a sustained period of green flag running, and there are title battles alight, just not at the front of the field.
Yeah. Well, the other one to look out for, which you've already looked at, is the fact that if Griffin Peebles can get ahead of Max van der Snel, then that would be pivotal for the 66 car, as in it would then lead the virtual championship.
It is a drive-through penalty for our GT3 leader, Martha Garcia. Trouble there. That's the two cars embroiled in the fight for the LMP3 Pro-Am lead, and there is David Drew waiting to pick up the pieces. There's the 97 car up the inside of the 44. Followed through, by the way, by Roman Favre, and I think Oscar Tunyo there as well, and Charles Roussan. This is very close, Johnny. It's not going to take much. Marta Garcia takes that drive-through straight away. That goes red there, and the car behind her stops. Marta did not, and that's been judged against her for that infringement. That's going to cost them dearly. So already dropped out of podium contention.
And here is the new GT3 race leader, therefore, David Fumanelli in number 33.
Well,
is that still not doing enough for the championship regarding the Kessel Racing car, this red and black car, compared to Alicia Dono?
There is Alicia Dono behind him.
Because, of course, he gains points as well.
He does. So what it means is 16 points was the gap before this race. And this means that he'll close that gap by 7. It won't be enough. He's doing all he can, win the race, and hope there's a problem for the car behind. But there's nothing he can do about the form of the 51 car.
No, 16 points their advantage heading to this event. Not won a race all year, and they may not win today's either, but it just shows you that consistency is key rather than race wins.
44 car has pitted from what was second place in LMP3 Pro-Am. Still Griffin Peebles battling with Max van der Snel. Max having a great race here, by the way. He's in a podium position for LMP3 Pro-Am. We'll do the points calculations if we see a change in the order. Warning flag track limits for car 74. We'll worry about that one a bit later. Is this where the drama's happened? It was a clash with the 97 car of David Drew that appears to have caused the damage. David not named as under investigation with the issue with the 23 car, but we think it was the 97 involved in that clash.
Yeah.
All sorts going on here.
But that incident down at Tora Vit that's just happened with the 44 car has only happened in the last 5 minutes or so. So we haven't yet got a message to say that's going to be looked at, but I'm sure it will be.
The points calculations with thanks to Jeff Carter in the media room here. For the 33 to take the title, 51 would have to finish 6th. At the moment, they are 2nd.
And right behind Fuminelli, so we might even have an attempt to get by, although Alicia Dono will be getting several radio messages to him now to say, just sit behind him till the end of the race, and that will be enough.
Well, one drama averted. There was the investigation for safety car procedures for the 85. The guy misidentified, thanks to the race leader, not the Iron Dames. No further action for Adrian David. He's good to go. He's 8 seconds to the good now. After powering by the interior Pole 34 car, 3-4 laps ago. Here, though, we've got the battle for, this is the battle for 3rd place. Max van der Snel and Griffin Peebles. This is a cracking battle as well.
It is, quite apart from its championship implications, because if Griffin can get ahead of Max van der Snel, that will give him the LMP3 Pro Championship.
That will be enough.
Because all of a sudden this car will have more points as we run than the 98, which is ahead, and Peebles looking for a way by, but the next corner is a right-hander. Can he do it around the outside? Because we're going to go into a much tighter right-hander, though, now at Samsung. And in fact, Max van der Snel knew precisely where to put his car, but Peebles much better off the slower speed corners, running side by side through Craig Jones, and if he can stay there this time into Portimão, that might work a treat. He's got ahead of the More Motorsport car and maybe heading towards the 2025 championship in LMP3 Pro-Am.
What a cracking move there, and that was a move that started 4 or 5 corners earlier. Max van der Snel, a fantastic defence from this amazingly quick young driver, but this is where it was finally done, Johnny.
And credit to whoever's flying the drone this weekend, because I don't think the car's ever left frame as they head towards the top at Portimão. And Griffin Peebles almost deliberately running a little bit wide through that double right-hander. It's turns 10 and 11, but he left his turn in deliberately late into 11, still giving racing room to Max van der Snel, but there was no option for the young Dutchman to turn in, and he couldn't fend off the advances of this very talented Australian.
Well, we're coming into the last 20 minutes of this championship, and we've still got title fights alight, and it's been absolute theatre, hasn't it? 33 car David Fuminelli has powered his way to the front. A little bit of assistance from errors elsewhere, but there's not a lot he can do about the form of the 51 car behind. Adrian David leads this race. This is the battle for the remaining podium positions overall. David Drew isn't really catching now, but other than the odd 10th here, the 2nd place and LMP3 Pro-Am leading Rashid Shawn in the 34-inch Europol car, but behind Forestier Racing, both those cars with the Gebhardt Motorsport Duquesne, the meat in the sandwich. They're currently running here 3rd, 4th and 5th in LMP3, and 4th, 5th and 6th overall. So with prospects that a podium could be there, and they are not far behind David Drew at all, who runs 2nd in LMP3 and seems to have closed the gap all of a sudden on the 2nd place car overall. This train, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars separated by 3 seconds.
Peebles through turn 15, and that's the adjusted points then. Steve Parrow and Griffin Peebles would win by 1 point over the Motorsport 98 car.
No, they wouldn't. Steve Parrow would win because Griffin missed a race.
Fine, okay.
So Steve Parrow would be the driver's champion. Rinaldi Racing's number 66 would be the team's champion.
Yeah, no, quite right to point that out. So Griffin Peebles doing the job for his teammate. Steve's done the full season. Peebles has not. My oversight. But that will still be, clearly is still revving up Griffin Peebles. He wants to, this is the shop window, isn't it, for Griffin? And I'm sure so many teams have caught sight of what he can do. So bringing the title to Steve Parrow, who really struggled in that opening stint. He was losing places all over the shop and found himself wedged in the GT3 battle for a little while.
Well, this is the beauty, isn't it, of Pro-Am racing. It is young talent very often, or even established talent, bringing forward the guys who bring the resource to this, and they find speed with the guidance of the pros they share the car with. Here's the 92 car. That car at the moment sits in 6th place, but only what is that, 2.5 seconds off second place. 18 minutes to go. And a race that started in a kind of somewhat fractious fashion has settled into an absolute blinder. Adrian David dominating, 9.5 seconds clear of Rashid Shawn, and still the LMP3 Pro-Am leader bottling up a train of 5 LMP3 class cars behind.
And if things continue this way for the 85 RSGP crew, they will have taken every single point on offer to them in the final 3 races. Spa, Silverstone and Portimão. To this point, they have not put a foot wrong, taking the championship with a race to spare.
The latest of a gaggle of principally single-seater heritage teams looking to sports car racing and finding a way in through LMP3. The next one, by the way, will be Campos Racing. They've already announced that they'll be putting together a 2026 campaign in LMP3, which I would presume will be in this series. And they'll be collaborating with the excellently named Brutal Fish Racing from Lamborghini Super Trofeo. I'm not sure what a brutal fish looks like.
You haven't met one, that's why. You'd soon know about it. I'm also reminded that this is not the first time Griffin Peebles has helped a team to a team title without taking the driver's title at the same time, when he won the team title in Asian Le Mans Series.
Yep, with
Breton
Racing. Yep, his form was stellar, absolutely wonderful.
Well, that you could argue is a championship slightly closer to home. He's fully committed to 6 races in Europe this year. I also found myself in what for me was a walk around Silverstone circuit for the Sir Chris Hoy charity run.
Tour de Force.
The Tour de Force, thank you. And many people ran it. You and I didn't. And now,
up the inside from the Forestier Racing by VPS car on the Gebhardt Motorsport car. That was a blinding pass as they came up to try to put a lap on Marta Garcia safely. Marta, by the way, still battling away, trying to catch Andrea Palicki, is doing that at the moment. That could close by the end of this race for another position clawed back by the Iron Dame. This was the move. Absolute lunge up the inside, but there was space to get that done. Just.
It is possible to get 3 cars through there then without any contact, and Marta Garcia was very grateful of that because she re-emerged from her drive-through penalty in 5th.
Don't know if you'd noted that David Drew has lost 3rd place to the other Forestier Racing car, Roman Favre, up to 3rd place, 2nd in LMP3, and still just over a second back, by the way, from the 2nd placed into Europol car, the LMP3 Pro leader.
AF Corsa number 51 Ferrari has a 9-point lead over the 33 Ferrari of David Fuminelli, so that gap has come down.
Yeah,
but
it can't come down any further without problems for the 51. So he's powerless really here without an issue for the 51. And to be blunt, that's unlikely to happen.
I mean, deliberately so. The points difference is greatest between 1st and 2nd, as in it's 7 points. And then the further the 51 Ferrari may fall in the field, actually the gaps are relatively small. I mean, it's a gap of 3 and then 2 points and then another 2 points, I think it is. So as it has been pointed out to us, the 51 Ferrari would need to drop to 6th in order for the 33 Kessel Racing car to take the title, and that does seem unlikely at this stage. Another drive-through penalty, this time for the number 7 Nielsen Racing Ades. Tom Fleming at the wheel of that car after the Pro, or the slightly quicker of the 2 drivers, started, although Tom Fleming is a talent for the future to watch out for.
Well, he's the nominee from the LMEM for the rookie test at Bahrain in LMGT3. Tom will drive the championship-winning LMGT3 car at Bahrain. 99 from Max van der Stel. It was involved in that huge battle with Griffin Peebles, but he's made a late pit stop of the 99 car.
I'm not sure what that's for, unless it's a significant problem. But did the time okay in the middle part of the race. 2 minutes and 51 seconds was the pit stop, which is absolutely fine.
David Drew under pressure here from the 2nd of the Forestier Racing by VPS cars. Charles Roussin trying to get onto terms with the CLX Motorsport car. So all sorts still going on, 13 minutes to go. Looks at the moment as if these championship battles are done. There is the 99 car, and I think that is out of the race. What a shame. Great run from Max van der Snel. Little family team that could has been scoring some good race results this season. So scoring better race results. RSGP and their 85 car now 15 seconds clear of Rashid Shawn, who's under real pressure from Romain Favre now for second place in this race. And it's the train behind that should be giving the Inter-Europol competition driver nightmares. Looking to try to get the car on an overall podium, is leading LMP3 Pro-Am, and where is the closest challenger? And the answer is just 6 seconds back, Gillian Henrion. He is closing that gap, but the clock is ticking down probably a little too quickly. I think he's going to be with Rashid Shawn and this group by the end of this race. It's been a stellar run here from Gillian Henrion, but can he do enough? And I don't think he can defend off Griffin Peoples in the championship fight.
Yeah, they're not quite at blows on the track yet, because a good portion of time sits between them, and the only hope then really was for Gillian Henrion to catch and pass Rashid Shawn. And
that's got to be his target. It's the only target he's got. The only thing he's got left that he can do in terms of this championship battle is to close the gap. He is how many positions back? 6 positions back and 6 seconds back.
Yeah,
that shows how close it is in that group.
Well, that's true, and I'm not surprised that Gillian Henrion is matching stride for stride the speed of people like Theo Mercouris and Oscar Tuño and Charles Roussin, but he's going to have to overtake all of them as well, and David Drew and Romain Favre, to even get to Shawn in second position. So it's just too much of an ask, unfortunately, and I don't think they're necessarily going to be ruining today at Motorsport 98, but just earlier results perhaps. I'm not sure whether there's a significant blot on the copybook. I'll just check back actually to see whether they didn't score particularly well. At the opening race, a big fat 0. Since then, they've managed to score in every single race, but Silverstone was the lower portion of the top 10.
Yeah, it's another overall position taken there by Griffin Peoples. Just moves up the inside of the white brick check pedal DK Engineering car, which is still in the top 10 overall, by the way, the number 3 car, and its first season for this Gen 3 Ginetta. DK have been making strides, but is it going to be quick enough to see that program continue? We will see in the off-season. We will have every prospect of seeing Ginettas back in this paddock next year. Adrian David still striding away. Romain Favre still with Rashid Shawn. At this stage, it's all about Griffin Peoples. He's not going to catch Gillian Henrion. 11 seconds is the gap, but Henrion needs to make progress, and he's got cars between him as well as the time gap for the race leader in his class, and it's that points gap that's going to make the difference one way or the other in the next 10 minutes as to the destination of the championship in LMP3 Pro-Am.
Shooting show, although going well in the 28-23 events racing car, is not a threat to Griffin Peoples either from behind, so unlikely to have a challenge for that position. Griffin Peoples locked in no man's land, but he'll happily take that because he is scoring well enough by, what was it, 2 points, the gap between, for the teams at least. Rinaldi Racing back to Motorsport 98, and in the Drivers' Championship, Griffin Peoples not involved with that, although he has been accumulating drivers' points through the year, but Steve Parrow has more, having done more races.
Intriguing battle here. This is Gillian Henrion, 2022 Ligier European Series champion, and the reigning champion Theo Mercouris ahead of him in the number 16 car. He's running 6th in LMP3. Gillian running 2nd in LMP3 Pro-Am. So 2 alumni of the next stage down, if you like, on the ladder. But Gillian already a championship winner in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. Car 50, meanwhile, the 23 events car, 1 second stop and go penalty, PSRT infringement.
Which is the pit stop reference time, and we did call that at the time that 2 minutes and 49 seconds was just underneath. I don't even think it will have been a full second,
Oh, it won't
actually.
it won't have been. Unfortunately, that is going to drop them out of any contention whatsoever. If they don't take that penalty, there will be a penalty applied post-race. Car 6 drive through penalty track limits.
Yeah, I think I did mention that I wasn't actually Axel Noss, but he again was on in the last chance saloon in that respect.
He's well out of contention there, though.
Edgar Pierre was the other one. I think the 86 car did get some form of penalty. The 86 has been under investigation for quite a lot of stuff in this race. Yeah, and in fact took was assessed a drive-through penalty about 15 or so minutes ago. We're into extra time in the final race of the season for the Michelin Le Mans Cup, already beyond the 2-hour marker. You might be thinking, why on earth are we still racing? Well, that was because of about an 18-minute red flag. But thankfully, the way the timetable works today, that extra time needed to complete the 2 hours was able to be added on. So we've been racing for, in another 10 seconds, 2 hours and 10 minutes, and we have a further 7 minutes to go.
I tell you that both Matteo Quintarelli and Axel Noss are both taking those penalties. Not going to interrupt anything of the battles up front. Still, Guillaume Henrion has not found a way by Theo Mercouris. That's the first of 6 targets between him and the prospect of putting Motorsport 98 to the top of the order in points. He's not going to be caught by Griffin Peebles, although there are strides being taken in terms of time by Griffin Peebles into that advantage from Guillaume Henrion. But we're 6.5 minutes now from the end of this race, from the end of this season, and it's just too much of a mountain to climb. It's the timing of that pit stop window has cost them the championship, because the 34 car managed to get in and took that advantage. Without that, we would have Guillaume Henrion in a championship winning position.
Yeah, you could say that has cost them the championship, but also the 0 at the start of the year didn't really help matters either. So it's a collective thing. I mean, the most recent events rather overtake something that might have happened back in April. But yeah, the whole nature of this championship, it's an up and down fair. And particularly the Road to Le Mans events didn't really go to plan for anybody. You need to score quite well in those as well, even though they're only half points.
Absolutely. Would say, by the way, cracking run from the 34 car. We got him on the drone shot now. Has held up and fended off attacks from David Drew, now from Romain Favre. Charles Roussin is there, Oscar Tugnau's there, and then it's Theo Mercouris before we get to the charging Guillaume Henrion, trying to get through and beyond this group to get to that car ahead. Marta Garcia looking to try to put a move here on Andrea Bellicchi at the end of the race to claw back one of those places lost. This would be the battle for 4th. Car 10, that's Ralph Kellener's, as a drive-through penalty for crossing the pit exit rear light, red light.
So Alessio Dono, I'm sure, getting the instruction to continue to sit behind David Fuminelli. Doesn't need to even think about an overtake. He's quite happy to be just a second off the back of fellow Italian racer for Kessel with the Swiss team.
Just ahead, by the way, this battle just there, off the apex of the corner, is the Code Racing Aston Martin. That is the final podium scoring car at the moment. So Marta has 4.5 minutes to pass 2 cars to get back to the podium. That is another steep mountain to climb. Still, the 34 car fending off this train of cars behind. At what point is Romain Favre going to try to force the issue? Can he force the issue?
Just assessing the speed of his car versus that of Rashid Shawn.
I'd say, by the way, just ahead of this group is the lead battle for GT3. There's going to be traffic to deal with for both those Ferraris. Still, Marta Garcia trying to get through. Here comes the number 28 Racing Sprint Le Mans car, our winner last time out in LMP3 Pro-Am. Not going to be quite as got a story up the inside and she makes that stick. Can she keep it on the exit? It's going to be a drag race up the hill. I think she's got it done. Now, 3 minutes is their time to catch and pass the Code Racing Aston Martin. I have to say that looks unlikely. Here comes the train of LMP3 cars contesting second place in this race overall, catching and about to deal with the challenge of passing Alicia O'Donoghue, the second place car in GT. Now we've got a battle.
Very good run from Favreau. It was more about not a great exit for Rashid Shawn.
Look to the outside as well, though. This is almost 3 wide.
Was 3 wide with the
He's got it done.
Ferrari.
He's got it done. But has he gone wide? Not quite there. Here comes David Drew. He wants to get involved. All of a sudden, this is well alight, and it's right in the middle of the GT3 lead battle, and championship battle for that matter. David Drew moves through as well. So we're back to an all LMP3 overall podium within 2 corners.
Wasn't a nice place to be sitting if you're Alicia O'Donoghue, by the way. All of that happening around you, and you're thinking, I just want to finish second. Leave me alone, please. Now up the curb goes the 92 car of Charles Roussin.
Don't ignore here, as this car is shuffled back, he's being shuffled back closer and closer to Gillian Henrion. The gap that was 6 cars is now 2 cars.
Yep.
Because Henrion has passed Tia Makuris. The gap for the championship, 2 seconds now.
That was Henrion flashing the lights, by the way. And all of a sudden, people down associated with Motorsport 98 are perking up a little bit with 1 minute and 40 seconds still to go. So Shawn overtaken. There was contact, though, there between the 92 car. I'm not sure that will be assessed in the direction of Rashid Shawn and a potential penalty. But the bigger issue for the American right now is that he's been sent towards Gillian Henrion, and Henrion doing his level best to get as close as he can to the leader in LMP3 Pro-Am.
Final lap, and here is our race leader, already our championship winners, Adrian David and Hugo Schwarzer. What a magnificent end to this season they've had, and our race GP has had. They are well over 20 seconds clear here, with Adrian David bringing the car home. He's got the number 10 Racing Spirit Le Mans car ahead of him. And that's not in contention for this race win. It's about finishing this lap safely, finishing an excellent season for the team safely, and then we'll find out whether or not they'll take the opportunity to move up with the team, with these drivers, with that car to the European Le Mans Series next season. This is still the battle. There he is. It's 1 car between them now. It's just Charles Roussin between Gillian Henrion and the back end of the 34 car. Not sure he's got the time and the space to do this, because they're all on the final lap of this race.
Yep.
But boy, oh boy, this has gone to the wire.
Yeah, Charles Roussin, really Gillian wants Roussin to overtake Shawn so that he can then have a clear sight of the American's car. He can see him beyond, actually, the Forestier machine. But here, for the final time, coming out of Galp Corner to make it 3 on the bounce and to seal a championship that was already decided before we arrived here in Portimão. The 85 RHGP car of Hugo Schwarzer and Adrian David will seal the second half of the season with every single point on offer. Meanwhile, what's going to happen in LMP3 with Rashid Shawn winning the race? That means that Gillian Henrion in second will not be able to outscore the 66 Rinaldi racing car of Steve Parrow, and Parrow will become the driver's title winner in LMP3 Pro-Am. Also behind, look out for the 51 Ferrari. The red car is flashing its lights because it's won the race for Kessel Racing, but the champions are in behind. The 51 AF Corsa Ferrari of Alicia O'Donoghue. Real tremendous run from the 51 crew all season, and amazingly seizing a title without taking a race win in the whole of the year. But 51, Alicia O'Donoghue, together with his teammate Alessandro Cozzi, who had a 16-point lead prior to the final round, are not able to extend that. It's actually slightly condensed, but it is sufficient to win ahead of Murat Chouadoroglu and David Fumanelli. And that fight in LMP3 Pro-Am was so intense in the closing stages because the gap between Rashid Shawn and Julien Henrion stands at 1.2 seconds at the line. But crucially, there was one car between them as well. So Henrion might have got there, but he might have needed another 10 or so minutes. There's the confirmation that Rinaldi Racing in the 66 car are the LMP3 Pro-Am Teams champions. Steve Parrow is a solo driver's point champion.
And just a moment to say to bitter luck for the sister car, the 71 car, out early on with Stefan Aust and Felipe Fernandez-Larza in the points lead coming into this race, and they were caught up in that 4-car incident that brought out the red flag early in the race. Cracking stuff. And after the interruptions early on, Johnny, this developed into something of a little bit of a minor classic, didn't it?
They always tend to go that way, in actual fact.
Oh.
Hang on a minute.
Oh.
Hang on a minute. Car 66.
It's not lost in the championship. They've got a penalty. 10 seconds has been added, I think, to the overall score, timing and scoring to the 66. It's not lost them a place.
Because, well...
They've just added the time. I saw the car move down the order.
Okay. No, it's only because there was an 11-second gap for a long time in race, and it now reads as an 11-second gap, but that might have been that Peebles added another 11 seconds at the time. It could have been 22. Anyway, now that everything has been corrected to incorporate the current penalties, it still means that 66 Rinaldi Racing finish third and therefore will take the title, I reckon, by 2 points. We will get all of the provisional points standings at the end of the final race to you in just a second. But in moment, even though they'd already got the title in the bag, what a way to seal their year. There is Adrian David standing on the sill of the 85 car. They haven't put a foot wrong at Spa-Francorchamps, at Silverstone, and indeed here at the Portimão International Circuit. Terrific from both competitors. Remember, the introduction of LMP3, that was only this year, wasn't it? The first year of LMP3?
This is first year of the splits, absolutely right.
So they are inaugural champions in a sense.
LMP3 Pro-Am. I mean, LMP3 Pro-Am as it stands now is effectively the prior LMP3 championship. The new class is actually the overall class.
Yes. But we've never had title winners that do not have a bronze in the combination.
Indeed.
In LMP3. So they're the first. And you wonder where they may go next, Hugo Sforza and Adrian David, whether as a partnership or separately.
Great run, by the way, having got the opportunity with the timing of the safety car versus the pit stop window, and the great opportunities win there for the 34 car. And by the way, great stuff. Fending off the opposition all the way to the flag. And there you go, the 33 car, David Fumanelli taking the race win. They'll be delighted with that. That's all they could do. But it will be the championship going to AF Corsa, the 51 car. So one of our overall championship winning cars winning their class here today. But the other two classes really did serve up some real entertainment.
Here's the result then, as I really do take a breath to have a moment to think, and it's an amazing 22-second gap from first to second between Adrian David as the closing driver and Romain Favre, because the next few cars, Romain Favre, the Forestier racing car, David Drew, Rashid Shawn, who won LMP3 Pro-Am, Charles Roussin, Julien Henrion, they were all in one long line as they streamed across to take the checkered flag. Oscar Tunio finishing fifth for Gebhardt Motorsport in LMP3, but the podium in Pro-Am has inter-Europol competition. Motorsport 98 narrowly missing out on the championship, and Rinaldi Racing who take it in their number 66 car. And then the GT3 finishers, 33 win at the end of the year, but don't score enough points in comparison to AF Corsa, I should say. So Kessel Racing finishing ahead of AF Corsa, but AF Corsa with the title. Let's not hang around. Straight to Steph Wentworth.
I am joined by the overall winners, the winners in LMP3, and of course the winners of the championship wrapped up last time out. Congratulations, number 85 RHGP. Adrian, let's talk to you because I missed you after qualifying yesterday, but it's been an excellent qualifying and really a stellar second half of the season that's clinched you this championship.
Yeah, amazing second part of the year. It's my 6th win in a row. So yeah, very happy. The team did a great job, honestly. I think we had a crazy pace in the race. We were super fast from the first lap to the end. So yeah, just a big thank you to Thibaut once again for believing in me when no one did. Thank you to my engineer Thomas. He did just a crazy car this weekend, and I could not do it without him and without Hugo.
Hugo, so many interventions and everything at the beginning of the race. Hard to get into it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not many laps done by myself, but managed to break away from every safety car restart. And then, thanks to the car, managed to break away even further. And yeah, the car was on fire. Thank you to everyone, and of course, an amazing stint by Hadrian.
Another win and the championship. Congratulations, off to the podium.
Thank you.
I think these two could be on to something pretty good in the future, as I say, whether they stay together or whether they separate and head down different paths. We've seen that from the Ligier European Series in the past with Hayden Chance and Theo Mercurius being good together, but now they find themselves in separate cars. So all sorts thrown at these drivers across what ended up being about 2 hours and 20 minutes. We had full course yellows, safety cars. We had a red flag for just under 20 minutes, but actually a clean start if you accept one or two cars locking up here and there. It's always a tough place to get this many cars threaded through the first 3 or 4 corners, and it's a big question mark how the European Le Mans Series drivers will manage it in a few hours' time. Good dicing in the early stages between Alex Martin in the Aston Martin and Vanina Rix in her Porsche, and trying to get down the inside at La Gauche corner was the Brit, returning to the championship, although actually the Aston Martin not eligible for points. This was a clumsy manoeuvre perhaps between Jacek Zielonka and Julien Lemoine, ending up with the Frenchman in the gravel trap, car number 84, and trailing some rear bodywork as well, so much so that the black and orange flag came out. Then that bit of bodywork actually fell off the car. But there was a huge incident as we went into our full course yellow to deal with the debris on the racetrack that involved 4 different cars and even more debris then. There's the 71 car of Stefan Aust, who was a championship contender. He had to go to the medical centre and beyond. Romano Ricci, sitting in the middle of the racetrack, was able to give an interview to Steph Wentworth and was rather cutting towards other drivers and, in fact, the whole scenario of full course yellow. Some contact front to rear, which involved the Reiter engineering car of Bence Valent, which did, again, some damage to that legality panel. Then contact, we still say, between the 97 and the 23 Ferrari, the 97 CLX car, although there's been quite a lot of confusion depending on whether it was that car or the sister machine. Then, when the pit stops happened under a safety car, this was the mandatory pit stop for everybody. Marta Garcia, taking the Iron Dames Porsche over, shot a red light. And it took some investigation to work out whether she had actually done that, but had to take a drive-through penalty as a result. Contact for the Aston Martin on the back of one of the LMP3s resulted in a front left puncture for Charles Bateman, and then an ABS problem. Sadly, the car had to be retired. But 85, just even through these various stoppages and cautions, never put a foot wrong. There was still plenty of contact going on elsewhere, though, and sadly for the 44, that contact at Tora Vip meant that it had no pace immediately afterwards. But the 85 car continued to plough on towards the checkered flag, and 3 wins in a row. Good dicing again between GT cars as Marta Garcia was able to pick off the Ferrari there at Tora Vip. But the championship contenders were now leading and second place in GT3 with David Fumanelli for Kessel and the eventual winners. But there's the race winner, 85, Hugo Schwarzer and Adrian David. They were already title winners in LMP3. Griffin Peebles, a terrific run to get up to 3rd place to take the title for his co-pilot, Steve Parrow. And the win in GT3 goes to the 51 AF Corsa car. So congratulations again to Alessandro Cozzi and to Eliseo Dono. This is the this is the podium presentation for the race in isolation, whereas the championship, bigger trophies, will be dished out tomorrow night.
One quick additional thing. We saw there Marta Garcia going by Andrea Bellicchi, but those places were exchanged again before the flag, so the Iron Dames finished in 5th place in the order in GT at the flag. There is the points situation in LMP3, already confirmed before today, but reconfirmed here. 116 points and a 46-point gap from the 85 RSGP car ahead of the first of 2 for SDA Racing by VPS card. What a great first season for that team. 2nd and 3rd in the championship. Then CLX. Adrian David and Hugo Schwarzer are our champions, from Louis Rousset and Romain Favre, Charles Roussin and Luciano Morano, with Cedric Ultramar and David Drew finishing 3rd here today and 4th in the points overall. Really close between the 2nd, 3rd and 4th place cars.
And that's often the case when you get a runaway leader in the form of RSGP. Then it's everybody else scrapping away for the lesser positions. But yeah, to have 3 or 4 teams separated by about another 6, 7 or 8 points, that was the dice really for that 2nd placed spot. Thea Mercuris, then in the 50 car, Lena Bula and Matteo Quintarelli, who would have had a better result today were it not for that pit stop that was probably less than a second too short, but that is all it takes for another visit to the pit lane to serve the time that you didn't do in the initial pit stop. I'm hoping that not too much has to be ironed out before the trophy presentations can take place, but Alessandro Cozzi and Eliseo Dono having a little conversation after certainly an eventful race, but for them, just keeping things quiet was the name of the game. And as soon as Dono was close enough to Fumanelli's red Kessel Racing Ferrari, all he needed to do was follow his fellow Italian home to ensure the points that they needed for the title. And in LMP3 Pro-Am for the teams, it's 1 point. I was saying it was 2. It's actually 1 point that Rinaldi Racing take it by. 82 versus the 81 of Motorsport 98. Gillian Henrion did everything he could, but he just could not catch Rashid Shawn. Rinaldi Racing 71, retiring on lap 2, 3, still finished 3rd in the championship.
And it will be Steve Parrow stands alone with Griffin Peoples having missed the 2 Road to Le Mans races with the team from Eric Dodonka and Gillian Henrion. History will teach us that what actually won the title for the 66 car was Griffin Peoples' pace at the end of that race, offsetting the 10-second penalty. That's what won them this. Whilst Gillian Henrion couldn't claim it, had we not seen the pace at the end from Griffin Peoples, they would have lost the title.
Yeah.
Remarkable.
Yeah, and that's just one of several drives that Griffin Peoples has put in this year for Rinaldi Racing that have helped, in no small part, Steve Parrow to the title.
And by the way, it's consecutive times in ACO Rules Racing with the Asia Le Mans Series and Breton Racing that Griffin Peoples has helped a team to a title but not won the title himself because he's not done all the races. So Asia Le Mans Series this last season, that gets underway, by the way, in December of this year in Sepang. And here in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. What next for Griffin Peoples? Well, I'll tell you what next for Griffin Peoples, an LMP2 test on Sunday.
Yeah. The world is that guy's oyster. You tend to get the feeling, because I imagine the only reason he wasn't at the Road to Le Mans events was because he had a clashing commitment. I don't know this for a fact, but his services will be so much at a premium now, with so many teams wanting him in their car. He can almost pick and choose the opportunity moving forward. There he was, in fact.
Indeed, at the front of shot, but that race at the end defined the excitement, came the way of 2 really talented young drivers, with Griffin Peoples in the 66 car and Gillian Henrion doing all he was able to do. And by the way, being squeaky clean doing it in trying to get to the class-leading 34 car, and he fell 1 position and 1.2 seconds short. Cracking stuff.
I mean, it certainly piques your interest, doesn't it, in the closing event of the race, for it to be so close. And just 7 races through the year to decide the points, but to fall short by a point must be absolutely bitter gall at the same time. So must spare a thought as well for Eric de Doncker and Julien Omrion. With thanks again to Julien Omrion for stepping into my seat on a couple of occasions yesterday. We managed to have a quick word with him at the start of the day as well, and I said to him, you know, refresh, brand new day today, put all of that behind him because didn't have great luck, and he will be absolutely gutted now. But I think on the face of it, you know, give him a few days and they'll realise they've had such a strong season. Motorsport 98, I think even before Julien became part of that team, have been in the championship shake-up in this.
Oh yeah.
This
I mean,
before.
Eric de Doncker is the grandfather of this this grid. Eric's been around and racing for as long as I've been in this scene, and that's what, 2.5 decades and plus now. Very much part of the opening salvos in the SRO GT era and all the way through. And here they come to the podium.
Second position, number 29, Forestier Racing by VPS, Louis-José Romain Favre. And the winners, number 85, Air Ace GP from France, Hugo Schwarz, Adrien David. I also called the team representative.
So the local PA commentator doing our job for us in a way. So thank you to him for that. And
we listen to the national anthem.
Here is the national anthem then of the winning team, R-Ace GP.
And to handle the trophies for the teams, I call.
Well, everyone involved with R-Ace GP did an absolutely wonderful job there.
I think they'd have preferred that rendering, but something's obviously gone wrong with the circuit PA system. But R-Ace GP did a fantastic job of filling in the gap, and what I can say, a stirring rendition of the Marseillaise.
Rudely interrupted, as it turned out. Clearly, whoever is on the button for the national anthem here at the circuit is having a slightly off day. But we'll get that straightened out for the next few podium, we hope.
Trophies for the third position.
Out from the Michelin Le Mans Cup manager for Michelin Motorsport. Proud supporters of this championship since its inception 10 years ago, as we saw on the sidewalls of the tyres on all the cars today. And it's proved to be one heck of a platform for talent at every level of this sport. On the pit wall, in the pit garages, and of course in the cars themselves. Back to the alumni coming from this championship, and it includes TF Sport, the original winners in this championship. In its days as just a GT3 series. Now, of course, pole sitters for this afternoon. I need to remind myself, race in LMGT3, and also the Corvette representatives in the FI World Endurance Championship. Their journey into ACO rules racing started here.
Yeah, and so many other teams can in that same regard. So that's why it's so fascinating and exciting to pay close attention to the Michelin Le Mans Cup, now celebrating its 10th year. But this is a real chance to spot the talent before everybody else does. So thank you if you've been with us for the last 2 and a bit hours, in actual fact. We'll get the next podium ready, but first, more drivers.
joined by the winners in LMP3 Pro Am, and quite a dominant victory it was. It's the number 34 Inter-Europol competition. How was that for you? Because you managed to avoid the incident earlier on very much in front of you, and of course afterwards managed to clinch the race after an incredibly timed pit stop.
Yeah, I'm really happy about it. I mean, it was a crazy race, actually. We had two accidents, two really big accidents. One just in front of us, actually. Managed to avoid it, and yeah, I couldn't be happy. This guy did an amazing job. It's my first time on the car, it's my first time on the championship, so I feel over the moon, actually. Thank you.
An incredible way to end the season.
Yeah, 100%. Just want to start off saying Jose did an amazing job. He kept it clean. There were some big wrecks in front of him, and he managed to avoid it all. And we had a really good timed pit stop that put us in a really good position. And you know, it was my first time this weekend, first time in the car, first time in this championship, and I just didn't come in with any expectations, but knew I just needed to do my job, stay consistent, and stay focused, and the result just came. So I'm super happy, really proud. Can't thank Inter-Europol enough for all the work they've done in the car. It's been super quick. Everyone's been so welcoming to me. And I know we're both just really happy to leave them on a high for the end of the season. Congratulations, enjoy the podium.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Rashid Shawn, the second voice you heard there, and his teammate Paulo Cotela, who is, I think, resident, well, he's Portuguese. I'm not sure whether he's resident in this part of the world, but he'll be no stranger to this racetrack, so lending a bit of that to that race.
Championship standings in GT3 eventually comfortable for the 51 AF Corsa car over the charge that came from the 33. But we're going to see LMP3 Pro Am first. There is Eric de Doncker and Gillian Henrion. Rueful smiles, I think, there. There's Steve Parrow on the right-hand side in the black and red overalls with the white overalls of Griffin Peebles. It will be Steve that takes the Drivers' Championship. But here are our race winners. We've just heard them talking to Steph Wentworth.
So Jose Cotela with the Portuguese flag draped across his shoulders. Rashid Shawn of Atlanta, Georgia, although has lots of experience of racing in Europe, just not in ACO-governed racing yet. But again, it's a toe in the water, and bringing some local knowledge about the Portimão International Circuit as well with him. Let's pause for the national anthem of the winning team.
They'll make that interesting, didn't they? The 34 crew taking every opportunity that was thrown at them and doing a magnificent job of fending off the much more experienced LMP3 drivers behind them. And then right at the death, this fantastic battle for the championship between effectively this young man, who comes away with third place in this race, but not the championship win. Winning that on behalf of Steve Parrow, trying to catch and keep the gap to Gillian Henrion, who just chased until the flag. 1.2 seconds short of what would have been a championship win. On the other side of the podium with Griffin Peebles eking out enough that the 10-second penalty they got post-race didn't matter.
Yeah, that's the more phenomenal thing, because, as I say, it was sitting at 11 seconds for quite some time in the race. I remember taking note of that because of the whereabouts of Chuting Show for 23 events racing, whether he was at all challenging Griffin Peebles. But it was 11 seconds, and now it sits at 11 seconds. So that means it must have crept out to 22 seconds at some point.
Which meant he was absolutely catching Gillian Henrion. That between those two, I think looking back at the data would be a real education. Two fantastic drives to those two young men at the end of the race.
So, for sure, certain drivers just checking out from their nearest rivals, and I mean that can be said for Gillian Henrion for sure, and also Griffin Peebles, and then Adrian David as well, winning by 21 seconds. That's the LMP3 Pro-Am podium done. Let's catch up with some GT drivers now.
Joined by the winners in GT3, the number 33 Kessel Racing. It's been quite the journey here. David, you were on an absolute charge, leaving no prisoners behind towards the end of the race.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's the third win of the season. Unfortunately, it was not enough to clinch the title. But I think we showed the whole season we were very strong, so I'm more proud than this. The two DNFs in Le Mans were very heavy for our points, but it's so good to finish the season on a high like that. Also, Murat did a great start as usual. He's the starting man, so so happy for him, for the team, for everyone.
Time to enjoy the podium. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
I suppose when you don't win the title, the next best thing to celebrate the end of the year is to be on the top step of the final podium. And they're putting a brave face on things. It just shows you, if you don't perform well in those 2 races during Le Mans week, then it can be costly.
And there you go. There is the final point score. It is 9 points to good for the AF Corse pair. As Johnny said, without winning a race this season, they take a comfortable win with consistency throughout the year. Kessel Racing's 33 car that took the win today will finish second. And it is the 3rd place in the championship for the other Kessel car, the 17 car, ahead of the Iron Dames. Some good results from the Dames, but not good enough across the season to be title contenders at the end here.
So, 3rd place going to the new drivers, but nevertheless, they could be ones that may well be making a return to the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2026. Code Racing Development and the Aston Martin of Pascal Houteau and David Kuhlmann. 2nd place to the 51 and provisional championship winners Alessandro Cozzi and Eliseo Dono. But the race win, the final race of the Michelin Le Mans Cup for 2025, is won by Murat Chouedaroglu and his teammate, who we've just heard from, David Fuminelli.
Remarkable, 3 wins against no wins and no title.
That's the way it can go, and consistency is key across a relatively short championship, just the 7 races, 2 of which score fewer points. Here's the national anthem of the winning team. So it's Switzerland who are celebrating for today's event, but Italy and AF Corse for the championship as a whole. And the championship, the race trophies are going to be presented by, it's due to be Yves Grumeau of Total Energies Motorsport Technical Engineer. And thank you to him for putting the time aside in order to do that. So, and there is confirmation that it is indeed Yves doing the honours. So, Fuminelli and Chouedaroglu win, I think again, I was about to say win for the first time, but they've had a win here at the start of the year. They also won in Spa as well, so 3 wins for the season, but that when they don't win, they really struggle, and those 2 non-finishes at Le Mans costly, but also a couple of 5th place finishes. You don't, on the face of things, think that that's too bad. But collectively, when you're up against a team that is scoring on the podium, 4 times out of 7, then that's how valuable those extra points have been to the 51 AF Corse crew, who are already off to the left-hand side of the podium there, making sure that both are doused suitably in champagne. There'll be plenty more of that tomorrow night as well at the end of season awards. Well, it's been quite a year in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. I think you'll agree, with so much incident, some of it avoidable in fairness, but no doubt about it, it is entertainment from start to finish. And the future of the Michelin Le Mans Cup looks incredibly bright as well, particularly with the addition of the silver LMP3 category. Congratulations to Hugo Schwarzer and Adrian David for the first ever winners in that. We will see you in 2026. Bye-bye for now.